Sweet.
Lorna,
Yes.
correct?
Lorna Wolcott.
Criminal defense lawyer. What a podcaster,
Former podcaster.
former podcaster, jujitsu, black belt,
Purple belt.
purple belt,
Yeah.
all of that. Anything
8 years.
else?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, let's get into this, man. So you defend the criminals. Is this what you do?
I defend criminals and the Constitution.
There we go.
So yeah, I try to tell people I'm a constitutional hall monitor.
So how do you? Let's start from the beginning. Born and raised in Melanie.
Okay, yeah. Actually, let's talk about your storm chasers because I was a little jealous, but I was born in Waukeeta, Oklahoma, where they filmed part of the movie Twister.
Oh, no
We'll
way.
just circle back there. Yeah, my grandpa delivered me.
That's the town you like. It was small like that.
500 people. So he delivered me across the street from the house in the community health center. But yeah, I came to Texas as fast as I could when I was 5, and I've been here ever since. So went to a Christian school, which is why some people find it counterintuitive that I'm a criminal defense attorney now. And yeah, did college, grad school, became a lawyer a little late in life. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and found myself a single mom and thought, oh crap, now what do I do to make money? And my best friend came to visit me and meet my baby. And he was like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I think I'm just going to go to med school because, you know, my family, they're doctors and stuff like that. And there's a fast track family medicine program. He's like, that's so stupid. You don't have a doctor brain. You have a lawyer brain. I was like, I don't know any lawyers. I don't know what lawyers do. I have no idea. And he's like, well, just go take the LSAT. So I did. And now I'm a lawyer, and I don't know how it happened. So
that's what it takes. The LSAT.
you have to take the LSAT, the legal SAT, and then have good grades and stuff like that. So, but I had done graduate school and everything, thought I was going to be a professor, and then learned that paid no money whatsoever, and I was paying just as much in daycare as I made as an adjunct professor, and was just like, okay, this is stupid. So yeah, just had to scramble to go find something.
And there's all kinds of lawyers. So how do you get involved in?
That's what's so cool. There are so many lawyers. Man, first of all, even saying that I was going to apply to law school, everybody told me don't do it. But, okay, being a lawyer sometimes is terrible. But there really is something for every personality type, something that you can do with law, even if you're not a practicing attorney in court. You can do transactional law and help with contracts. You can go do policy stuff and work with legislators. You can just be really good at reading and writing at some point, and then go work anywhere with a writing job. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, I started off at Mullen Horton Brown, which is like a big corporate law firm, doing, I don't know, there's like family law, bankruptcies. It was a lot of contracts. It was very, very boring. It was, these people have a bunch of money and these people have a bunch of money, and we're going to fight over it. And everybody's going to come out probably paying the lawyers as much as anything that they were fighting over. I had one case where, like, hypothetically, I can't say hypothetically. Let's just say that sometimes there were cases where there were like $500,000 in attorney's fees on both sides, and both sides settle at zero and walk away just having paid lawyers. It's soulless. It's horrible. I really don't know how people do it. My little brother's a lawyer in Houston. He went to Harvard. Oh my God.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Shout out to the fact that he walked around the first day with his shirt on inside out. And when I called him to check on him to see how he was doing, he's like, I think it's good. I really like it. Oh my God. My shirt's been on inside out the whole day. So that's my little brother. But no, like, that's all mergers and acquisitions and corporations, and everybody just, the only way to get justice is if you have a bunch of money. And even then, like, what does it look like? Because you couldn't help people for little cases that cost like $10,000, $20,000. You can't help people for that amount of money. Most people can't, I feel like, because if it's worth it to you to go for that amount of money, but you're paying a lawyer like $200 to $400 an hour, like, what are you doing? You're probably going to pay the lawyer just as much as you need to get that stuff done. And then, like, people with kids, that's horrible too. Family law. Knowing that if one party has money, that party is going to be able to do so much more, hire better attorneys, do more discovery, really put pressure on other people to just make them give up. That happens a lot. You just have enough money, you can make people give up.
Don't the big corporations do that? They just keep you going.
But everything does that. I mean, except for, I feel like, no, the criminal justice system is still messed up too, but we at least have constitutional rights to an attorney. My job is in the Constitution. Everybody deserves effective assistance of counsel. And so I just think that it's interesting that that's like one of the most important things that made it into the Constitution of things that we have to have that are essential. Because that means that in those matters of justice, at least, like money's not going to be an option, or it's not going to be a barrier to getting effective representation. Whereas anything else that we do civilly, especially with family law cases, it's really hard to, it's just really hard for justice to prevail because so much money comes into play, and people who don't have money typically don't get as much access to their kids or get as fair of a shake as they normally would get.
Isn't that an issue with, like, you know, everybody's entitled to it, but the public defender, it's like hard to get any interaction with them. There's few of them.
So, yes and no. Lubbock does something cool that not a lot of other places have done. I think the very first place they did it was in California, somewhat of an experiment. And then we started out doing it here in Texas. Phil Wishcamper, I believe, was the first one to do it. And I'm saying his name because he just recently passed a couple weeks ago. But he was like our lead private defender. So we do something called a private defender's office here. So we don't hire a public defender. We have one guy who's the director of the whole place, and we get some government funding, grants, stuff like that. But there's got to be at least 75 of us, maybe more, that are on an appointment list, so we can do our own private practice. But then we can also do indigent criminal defense and get paid an hourly wage. That's somewhat, I wouldn't say competitive. It's probably a fourth of what most people would make if they did it privately. But that at least gives it a deeper list for people to help out with court-appointed work. However, that being said, COVID messed a lot of stuff up. Because, like, if you go to the doctor and you're missing your doctor's appointment, you just go to your next doctor's appointment. You're fine. When you go to court, it's like, well, we have to have our arraignment. Then we have to have a pretrial hearing. We have to have this type of hearing. So you don't get to just go and like, all right, now we're at trial. You still have to go through every single one of those things that you missed. So we backed up pretty bad. And I know in county court too, they're behind like 2,400 cases.
Still.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Or at least that's how many he has open on his docket. But it's been a lot, just trying to catch up. And
did you say Wishcamper?
Phil Wishcamper, yeah.
I've heard that name from Post.
I don't know. He's just been everywhere. He has a brother named Bill. But yeah, Phil did a lot of really good work. He was just always constantly figuring out ways that we could do it better to help people without money be able to get the representation that they're entitled to. And I mean, because again, we're helping people, and then we're also defending the Constitution to make sure that we always say bad facts make bad law. And so really bad things, if you're not holding prosecutors' feet to the fire or the cops' feet to the fire, sometimes you have all these people who are like, you can't break the law, and then they break constitutional laws to get there. So you have to police the police. You have to police the prosecutors to make sure.
This is what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. That's what I tell people. I mean, that's what I tell people in Fort Dyer when I'm talking to a jury, because they look at me, they give me that, and then my family members and everybody, like, how can you do this?
She might be talking to me. I just got summoned for jury duty.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So.
And somebody else missed theirs. I'm not going to say who, but.
It was me.
Uh-oh.
I was going to Europe.
Got a criminal.
Just go to jury duty.
Okay, yeah. Can you tell me what you told?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to talk a lot.
Okay.
If you are quiet, you will end up on the jury. Because what we're doing when we call a jury, we're trying to figure out if people are biased or not, if they go one way or the other, if they could be neutral, if they like say my client's not going to testify, is that going to be in the back of their mind? Like you're not testifying, and if you were innocent, then you get up there and you testify, but you're not allowed to do that. Because the Fifth Amendment says I have a right to remain silent. I have a right not to incriminate myself. I don't have to get up on the stand and have somebody throw all these questions at me. I might be nervous. I might not be good on my feet. I might not talk very well. And so if you're a person who can't get past that, then you're not going to be on the jury. So, I mean, you just be honest. It's not like people are trying to get you on a jury. We're trying to find people who would be a good fit and aren't just going to completely disregard the law.
I'm pretty biased. Let me just say that right now.
That's what I've heard.
I am pretty biased.
I would never want you on a jury.
Thank you.
Any of my friends out there.
You're pretty biased too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. And I love Trump, and I'm very, very right wing.
I don't know. That puts you on a prosecutor's jury for sure.
Oh, damn. Yeah, so you defend the Constitution. What kind of cases are you handling?
Okay. For the most part, I try to just do misdemeanors because I'm a single mom right now, and felonies are a lot. But here in Lubbock, I just do misdemeanors. In Lamb County, over in Littlefield, I'll do felonies. And then I'm on the mental health docket here too, which is misdemeanors and felonies, but we all do them in the same court. So like people who see if they're competent to stand trial or not. But yeah, it goes from everything to possession of marijuana to theft to a lot of DWIs.
Those are misdemeanors? I didn't know that. I thought they were felonies.
Yeah, DWIs are misdemeanors until your DWI third is going to be a felony.
Is that an automatic prison if you get a third one?
Yes. I mean, there's at least minimum shock time. I should probably have known this before I came up here. We Google a lot of things, guys. The judges have some of them have little rubrics up at their desk. Like, okay, what is the shock time? Shock time just basically means if you're going to do probation, you still have to spend a minimum time in jail for DWIs. And now the new thing to try to dissuade people from drinking so much is DPS got involved, and now there's a traffic fine. So for a smaller misdemeanor, like a Class B misdemeanor, it's $3,000 that you have to pay on top of like the surcharge to get your license reinstated and everything. So $3,000 for a Class B, and for a Class A, it's going to be $6,000. Yeah.
Yeah, you just call it a $30 Uber.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all adults at this point. Like, we should know. We should know if we're going to go drink alcohol. And regardless, like, you might be fine to drive, but if you get pulled over, and a cop is there, 1,000% if they smell any alcohol on your breath, you're getting field sobriety test, you're getting all of that. I mean, it's going to happen.
There's a bird talking to us.
I heard. I wondered what that was. It sounds like something chopping wood.
I check Lubbock mugshots daily. Do you follow that account?
Absolutely, because I want to make sure that none of those people are in my jury pool.
Oh, well, go back about 10 years ago and I'm in there.
Hey, I wonder if I'm in there too, but it might have been before it was a thing. Thank God. I got a mugshot.
Lubbock County mugshot's been a thing for a long time, but not on social media.
Okay.
So I don't know how far back it goes.
It's under a different name because I keep getting divorced and changing my last name, so good luck finding it.
So there you go. The reason I brought that up is because there is a lot of DWI cases.
Yeah.
In Lubbock, a lot. Now, I also saw a video from the 80s when they started making this a rule, I guess, and people were saying it's against our constitutional rights to tell us if we can drink and drive. Why is it not? Why, is it because you're endangering people? Like, where is the law on that?
This is going to be a fun one. I'm going to try to figure out where to start. There are a lot of competing interests in freedom. And so constitutionally, when you have your rights, First Amendment right to free speech, Second Amendment right to possess weapons, trying to figure out, okay, you have those rights, but at what point can we legislate that to make sure that we're taking care of other competing interests? So a recognized Supreme Court interest is public safety, public health. And so just depending, I'm not sure what the statute on this one says or if it was ever litigated, but we have different levels of scrutiny that you look at things, and depending on how important that right is how much you are and are not allowed to legislate it. And like, you better have a good reason. The way I used to tell my students was like, you have to have like a damn good reason or a pretty good reason or just like a so-so reason. Depending on like, so free speech, you have to have a damn good reason to be able to legislate anything connected to that.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But for like, we use the word narrowly tailored, for a compelling government
Lawyer
interest.
speak.
Yeah. But like being able to drink, I mean, it's property and freedom and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily in the Constitution as one of those
So these
protected
are
rights.
battles that we've been fighting since the
Yeah.
beginning, huh?
I mean, like wearing a seatbelt. I don't need to wear a seatbelt. You don't need to legislate that. Well, at the same time, ambulance costs and things like that, not just public safety for you, but like how much are we wasting resources on helping people who probably would have been fine if they were just wearing a seatbelt? I mean, so money comes into it.
You know what's interesting about Italy is they don't wear seatbelts, and I noticed that they have the little thing to stop the car from beeping.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, like the little clip just to put it in there, and then they don't have their seatbelts on. I know. Did you notice that? All the taxi drivers, none of them had seatbelts, and they didn't say anything to us about it.
That makes a lot of sense. When I studied abroad in France, I had an Italian host brother, like roommate, for like maybe a month. And it was the scariest driving experience of my whole entire life because he took us to the movie theater one day and he was like, oh, all these people are in a line here. We'll just go around. I'm like, they're at a stoplight, though. You're supposed to stop at the stoplight. Just going into one oncoming traffic, going wherever he wants to, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it was terrifying. I would try to pay attention, like how are their rules? You know, like I mean, like the right of ways, and there was none. It was like if you fit, just go.
It seemed like it was
And that
only
was-
stop at the stop sign. That's it.
it's like epileptic.
And even then, it just
bats
didn't
out
feel
of
like they
hell.
were going to stop.
And there was cops everywhere, and they didn't do a damn thing.
Yeah. Nobody
God bless 'em.
cares.
The
No.
only time I was scared is we were on the highway in Italy, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna put my seatbelt on here because we're flying."
I
And
don't know.
was
I
like,
wonder what mortality rates are out there. Or does everybody just drive vigilantly because they expect everyone to be driving?
I never saw any car accidents.
No, I don't know.
I don't remember seeing them either. I just remember seeing traffic jams.
Yeah, the seatbelt thing. That's not like, how does that work? Is that just like a city, like the law on that?
That probably more goes toward like lobbyists and federal regulation on vehicles and how they're supposed to be built in the first place and,
Oh man,
you know, safety
Big
concerns.
government.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go full Ron Swanson on most of these things and live in a
Oh.
cabin out in the woods. But yeah, I mean, as much as I would be like the living off the grid person who, like, remember when Ron comes up and he's like, I have a permit. And they say, this just says I can do what I want.
I love Ron.
So, I mean, there is a lot to be said for that. But then at the same time, I don't know. I guess I get into this more in my mind with the marijuana stuff
bring
right
that
now. I feel like they waste so much money paying us. Like, so my flat fee for a misdemeanor case is $250. So if I come into contact with a possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, it's probably going to get dismissed or dismissal with terms or like thrown away. And then maybe there's another charge, but like you're going to spend $250 on that, just paying me. I don't know what you're paying prosecutors to constantly have these little things. It's like first time offenders, nonviolent crimes, things that in my mind, we don't have time to deal with because we're still behind from COVID. The jail is overcrowded constantly. What Sheriff Rowe was wanting to do was just build a bigger facility. And I'm like, we don't need to build a bigger facility. We need to be careful about the cases that we're actually prosecuting. And I would, like, in a completely non-scientific statistic that I have in my head, but just based on my clients that are in jail, like over half, maybe 60% of my clients who are in jail have really severe mental health issues. And we just don't have places to help people as much anymore. Star Care is pretty effective, but then at the same time, we don't have as many facilities as we used to have, and the jail staff is not necessarily trained to go and help people who are having full psychotic episodes and need to have forced medication, stuff like that. And like, so jails are full of that. And I'm like, can we just, when the proposition, whatever, what was it?
Prop A.
Prop A. I was like, can we just divert money away from that and put it into mental health care? Like, let's legalize that. Let's go help our mental health community, because it just wasn't, that to me is not an issue that really affects Lubbock, in my opinion. Alcohol is, for sure. Most of my, like, if I have domestic assaults, any sort of assault case, obviously the DWIs, most anything bad or violent that I'm going to see is going to stem from alcohol. But everybody's fine with that.
That's weird, huh?
But we're not okay with the super chill.
I don't think I've ever met somebody violent from smoking weed.
I never have. And then people say it's a gateway drug, and I disagree with that statistic as well, because when they were doing that initially, it's something that's illegal. And if your sample size are people who would already try something illegal, then more than likely that's the type of personality who would also want to experiment with other things. I think that's a flawed statistic. I think if you gave everybody in a controlled group pot and then like tried to see like who had addictive tendencies afterwards, it probably wouldn't be a thing. I don't know.
Is there a study on what weed does to the brain? Like, does it induce mental health issues? It would. I think it did. It would for me. That's why I say this, because if I smoke like the strong shit that they have,
Yeah.
I think it would send me over the edge.
I haven't looked as much into
You got to bring that into the when talking about weed, because that shit is crazy what they have now.
what do you
Like
mean?
a strong, like
Oh, the strong strains?
high
Yeah.
potency
Yeah.
weed. I've heard a lot of people say like the weed now is way different than the weed was fucking 10 years ago.
I guess it depends on
If
like
I can cuss, Your Majesty.
strain. And
Is that
no,
what-
you absolutely can.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer. That's
Oh,
all I
sorry.
hear all the time. Half the time my clients don't listen to me unless I use curse words. So
Okay.
I've learned.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, because you're saying this mental health is a big
Well,
issue, right?
but then it's also-
other things.
I also have a hard time with the fact that a lot of us are just prescription drug addicts because doctors don't want to deal with the root cause. And we're all very legally taking a bunch of medication.
Everybody's on meth, huh?
Oh, yeah. I was on Adderall for the longest time. I hated the way it made me feel, though. Like, I got so detached and was, like, constantly going, and just being a productive member of the workforce and never having a chance to stop and actually heal or, like, be present. And like, I got into a lot of bad situations because of that, but very socially acceptable bad situations, like failed marriages and a lot of business stress and stuff like that, because they let us take it, right? But I haven't done as much study into the effects on the brain of THC, but I know that, I mean, a lot of times it's something that can be really helpful for a lot of people who don't want to take antipsychotics and stuff. But then at the same time, if you have the wrong penchant for it, it can cause psychotic
I think it
episodes.
would for me.
But I wish that were more. I wish we had it legalized medically here, because for some people it really helps.
Well, we really tried to push that on this podcast, and nobody
Yeah.
voted. So
I-
we almost deserve it, if you ask me, because nobody fucking voted.
Kind of, and nobody understands the issue. I felt bad. I tried to talk to my mom and my brother about it, but I'm like, it's not just from me on the ground seeing what I see. I used to be afraid of that stuff too, and like was very judgmental. And now I just see it completely differently, probably because I listen to one too many podcasts too. And so I started looking at psilocybin and psychedelics and everything like that to see how it helps the brain. Because I have PTSD, and they talk about ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, which I still haven't tried. They say that psilocybin can sometimes help with that.
Ibogaine, that's the one I was thinking about. Ibogaine? It's like a root plant from Mexico, and a lot of people say with PTSD say like one time, and it was like super helpful.
Because it's supposed to, if it's in the category of psychedelics,
Yeah.
then I'm thinking it's supposed to help with neuroplasticity and helps those parts of your brain that possibly were dead. And I don't know if they'll completely grow back.
I think that's the thing. I'm no expert, but that one in particular really almost does completely
Yeah.
heal you.
See, and I know people have had really good experiences with ayahuasca and DMT and all of that, and just come back. They've done a lot of studies on PTSD in vets having to use that. And again, part of me thinks like I don't know why we don't put more funding toward that and studying that, because my clients, even on their meds, aren't necessarily the most fully functioning individuals. and you just get like locked in and are a slave to something that you have to just be on for the rest of your life. Whereas there are some therapies that are really healing. I don't know. I really want to, I think they have ketamine assisted therapy here. Like you have to do it in office. I just think it's so expensive. We had a guy on here who did it. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a while, but he was in the trials or whatever. I don't know how it worked.
I've known some people who have done it. One of my therapists, she had done it for some of her early childhood abuse and stuff, and was like.
So why are those things illegal? Some outdated stuff?
I think really outdated stuff. I think the war on drugs was an interesting idea in theory.
I'm not trying to go full conspiracy here. So
No. Well, but if you listen, I cannot remember the first name. Johanny. It's a book called Chasing the Scream, but it's just kind of about the war on drugs, drug use in the U.S., and how a lot of times our criminal justice system just re-traumatizes people who are already self-medicating their trauma. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So I do know the statistics on drug offenses, which is if you go to TDCJ, if you go get like a drug offense, if you spend, I can't remember all of it, so I'm just going to say the parts that I know because it's a little bit older. But essentially 80% of people in jail, in prison for drug-related offenses are going to reoffend within 2 years. 80% will reoffend within 2 years on another drug-related offense. If it's like a burglary to steal money to get drugs, or if it's like being in possession or whatever. And so, like, you just push the ball down the road. Like, you put people in jail, and you let them sit there, and then they come out, and in 2 years they're doing it again. Yeah. Oh, for sure. We don't want to privatize prisons, but we do. I don't even know. And we pay for it. You get $100 a day credit if you're in jail. You don't actually get to keep that money, but that money goes back to the city.
Somebody gets it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some kind of income being generated there. And so you get $100 per day for your court costs and your fees and stuff.
And the taxpayer pays that?
I mean, we must. I mean, we have to, right? That's a lot. That has to be coming from us.
It's like $3,000 a year for 1 year, one person. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah, there's a ton of people in there.
All right, so what happens? Let's say hypothetical. I get pulled over and I got weed. What do we do?
Okay,
we just take it. I'm not high.
You're not high, but you have weed. So that's possession of marijuana. But why'd you get pulled over?
Speeding.
Okay. Can you smell anything in your car?
I'm assuming.
Okay. Do we know that it's a Delta 9 strain and not a Delta 8?
Let's say it is. I don't know.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know because you have to have articulable facts to support reasonable suspicion. To pull you over, you have to have reasonable suspicion. You're speeding. Got it. When I go to your vehicle to check you out, if I completed my reason for pulling you over, then I'm done. If I notice something else that leads to something else that could possibly be illegal, it has to be articulable. So I have to be able to specifically say what it is. And so it's like, well, I noticed a strange odor coming from the car, or an odor that I know to be marijuana. But of course, nowadays, a drug dog can't tell the difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9. And Delta 8 is legal. Like, how do you know that it's not just like a dab pen that I picked up from like headhunters or something? Yeah. Like, that's completely legal. But what are you going to do? Like, search my vehicle? Because you don't know. I mean, and then even with field sobriety tests and everything, it's so crazy because we feel guilty. Even if you don't have anything, some of us feel guilty. Like, you see a cop in your rear mirror and you're like, oh crap, what did I do? Like, did I just rob a bank? Do I have a gun under my seat that I didn't know about? Like, you freak out. But it's just like field sobriety tests, like trying to figure out if somebody is drunk is, well, their eyes are really red, or their eyes aren't. Like, they look really sleepy, or they look really awake, and not just drunk, but like if they're on substances. They're really, really nervous, or they're super calm and subdued. So just anything on the spectrum of human existence then becomes a reason. So if you get pulled over, one, yes or no answers. or I don't know is fine. If they ask you for permission to search your vehicle, say no. Always say no. Do not say yes, even if you think you have nothing to hide, because it is very hard to fight probable cause if you've given somebody permission to search your vehicle. Maybe they did it wrong and they didn't have all the steps that they needed to actually come up with a reason to search your vehicle. And so we can work with that. We just can't work with a yes, please come search my car. Because who knows, like maybe you have a prescription for Xanax and like a pill fell out of your pocket. And so now there's a pill in the floorboard of your car and now you've got a possession of a controlled substance charge. And
fuck?
yeah, I mean, I have a client right now where we're going
That
through
happened to my buddy, by the way.
Yeah. I have a client who kind of lives in her car and some of her pills were on the floor and she didn't have her bottle with her. So I just had to go get her prescriptions and show it to the prosecutor. And now the case is getting dropped, but
Cost money and all that.
cost money. She was in jail. She had to pay bond. She had that hanging over her head. Like, and now they pay me for that. Like, and the prosecutors put that on their docket, which means one more case that everybody has to deal with that clogs up the system. So
Let me throw you a case out that I learned from Trailer Park Boys. I don't know if you're familiar.
I am familiar with the show.
So you live in your car,
Yeah.
but you're drinking in the car. Mm-hmm. Can't you say it's your home? I'm drinking in my home. Is that not? Like, what if a cop sees you,
Yeah.
like, on a street? You're like, man, I'm just fucking here drinking. I'm not driving.
Does it matter if there's like a key in the ignition?
I don't know. Does
Or
it?
if the car's running?
So we've done those too with like golf carts. Is that drinking? Is that driving a vehicle
shit.
or not? Mm-hmm. So
A Lime scooter?
there's stuff. It depends. That's the lawyer answer. It depends. It depends on everything that's around. And there are cases that will say the key has to be in the ignition, and there are some that say it doesn't. The last that I had looked at it. But yeah, if it's your home, but if your home moves, I don't know. I would think that does it actually work as a vehicle? Or you said you're living in your car.
You're living in
You're
your car.
living in
That's
your
what
car.
you said your friend was. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah, still is
You're
a
not at a
vehicle,
park.
though.
You're not at a school. You're not at a church. You're just like.
Am I in my car and my car is on?
No, it's off. You're saving gas. You're broke.
If my car is off and I'm in the back of my car, you could make
You're in your
the
living
argument.
room drinking a liquor.
Yeah, as long as you're not actually actively driving.
Okay.
Because they would have to prove that you drove while intoxicated, not that
You
you
could
were
be
just
like-
in a car.
I was in the den and you're just like in the back seat.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Come, step into my office.
Or sometimes I wonder, like, no disrespect. I back the blue. I love him. But, like, a dickhead cop, like, you know, I'm drinking in my driveway, about to go inside.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking and driving, but I was in the driveway in my car drinking. Like, could I get in trouble for that?
mean, it depends on how bad of a night they're having and how much they want to do paperwork, but they'll do it. I mean, I've seen cops do the wildest stuff that you're like, just let it go, man. They just, I don't know. It's like you're born wanting to catch somebody. Just like all they ever want to do in life is just get somebody in trouble. And there are so many cops that are not like that at all. But then there are some that just feel like this is what I was born to do, to catch the bad guys.
When you need them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I have my own opinion on cops, though.
So a lot of these cases, though, it is up to the cop kind of almost, right? Like,
Yeah.
if they want to, can you just get a ticket? Well, the weed thing, we could just say, like, can they just throw it out sometimes? Like, give it to me. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a negligible amount, they'd be like, just don't do it again. Like, just get out of here. Like, go smoke in your dorm. Like, don't do it here. Especially with like kids. Because again, it is a substantial amount of paperwork. So it depends on how much you want to fight it. Most of the time, I feel like most of the time cops are going to let someone go with just a simple POM. But if it's like criminal trespassing and there's pot, or you were, I don't know, like a theft case and there's pot in your pocket, something like that, they're always going to bring it at that point, but not necessarily with just the main pot charge. I know that a lot of the prosecutors had thrown them out for a while. They weren't doing anything with it, or they were just letting people take a class and then were dismissing the case. Because if you think about it, here's a hard one. You've got legal in New Mexico, legal in Colorado, legal in Oklahoma, and we have tech campus here. So I had a kid who went back to visit his family in New Mexico, went skiing and stuff, had his ski jacket on, was smoking out on the hills, and then came back home, totally forgot. He's straight A student, scholarships, everything. And he, because it was a cartridge and the statute's written wrong where they weigh the like the whole cartridge and not just the fluid that's in there, you get felony amounts. So like never been in trouble his whole entire life. And now he's got a state jail felony, possession of marijuana. And again, he was like, I just literally forgot that it was in my pocket. Like, I haven't smoked it here. I haven't done anything with it, but he's not allowed to possess it here, but it's totally legal back at home. And so you have a lot of kids coming in forgetting to...
Clueless.
Yeah, forgetting to get rid of that stuff. I mean...
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you get thrown out?
No. Or did that get thrown out? Yeah, we did, I think, dismissal with terms on that one. Which has happened a lot for the felony cases like that because everybody knows the statute's written wrong. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Just like, you don't want to ruin people's lives over something small like that. And
Seems like some people do.
For sure they did. For sure they did. And it was
goodness.
and I'll say it was very racially motivated at the beginning with all of this completely. I mean, even to go back as far as powder cocaine versus crack cocaine. And how there were harsher penalties for crack cocaine, which is more readily available to lower income people than powder cocaine, which everybody on Wall Street was doing. This was like back in the 80s, 90s. Actually, I'm trying to think. One of my professors worked on this case.
Well, I bet that powder cocaine was fire. Sorry, no disrespect. Anyways.
But no, like there was like way harsher criminal penalties for the crack cocaine. It's like, it's the same stuff, you guys, but the rich white guys got off with fewer charges, and we just completely imprisoned a bunch of people. So
let me ask you, I'm turning it to free speech.
Yeah.
Big issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Like, where am I protected in free speech and where am I not?
Okay, this is another one. Really, people should be able to say whatever they want to say, whenever they want to say it. Because, and I cannot remember, I think it was Justice Frederick who said that we are the marketplace of ideas. And so the whole idea of American democracy is that everybody gets to talk because eventually everyone is going to be a minority voice, right? So this is the loudest voice, but we want all the quiet voices to be able to say what they want. And if these ideas are better and now this is now the majority voice and we have some other minority ideas, but we get to, as a society, determine what we like heard and what we don't. And we just don't listen to the things that we don't like. We don't promote it. We don't whatever. And so the line then comes, though, how bad is it hurting someone else? Is it going to incite violence?
So if I yelled at a cop, fuck you.
You're fine. Yep.
Okay. The middle finger too?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you could possibly get lewd behavior, like a Class C misdemeanor or something, but that's not assault on a peace officer. That's not, they could maybe classify it as resisting arrest, but if you're not you're not actively being arrested and you,
like I was driving by and I like, fuck you.
Well, there's a big case.
Wouldn't do that.
I can't remember it, but a dude wore a fuck the draft jacket. He had a jacket on that said fuck the draft into a courthouse. They're like, you can't wear that here. And he's like, yeah, I can. I guess the guy was protesting against Vietnam. So, yeah, it's basically free speech in classrooms is a hard one.
Well, yeah, I was about to ask about that.
Yeah. They have like something called the Tinker standard now, which is like, how much does it disrupt the classroom? Like, am I able to teach kids if they're using this kind of speech in the classroom? Substantial classroom disruption, I think, is the standard. And so again, it's just, you're like looking at everybody else who wants to be free in this society. Are they also going to be able to do their thing? Or is this going to interfere with that? Like Thomas Aquinas a long time ago said, I can swing my fist as much as I want, but if it makes contact with your face, I just can't swing it that far. So what is the point where our speech is like now actually preventing someone else from exercising their freedom? If that makes sense. Like, we all get to have free speech, but is there a point where the way that you're exercising yours causes me not to be able to exercise mine. Or
yelling
any of my
fire in a movie theater.
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
No, because like, what's the benefit of that speech? Just
Being a fucking asshole.
exactly. So is that like really beneficial speech? No. But then again, you can't go into like, is the speech good speech or beneficial or not? Because we have art and we have a lot of things that people want to say that a lot of people don't like.
Thinking about the whole Kanye West thing.
I was gonna bring that up right now. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Like, could you make a case what he's doing is not beneficial for society as a whole?
For sure.
Wearing a fucking swastika.
Yeah.
Like,
He was in a Klansman outfit today.
you know, these dumb kids are
was
gonna
he?
be
In a black Klansman
Yeah, he gave
outfit.
a guy. It was the other day. He gave a guy one too. Retards. Sorry.
See-
Let me bleep that word.
Now that's going to be, I mean, that puts you into the whole, like, can you burn crosses kind of thing, all of that, which you can't, like, in front of people's houses. I mean, things like that.
Well, like on your own private property, could you?
Yeah.
If there's no fire ban?
Yeah, you just couldn't do it in someone else's
There's always
yard.
like an end, right? Like,
Yeah, there is. It's,
what about burning the Bible? Could you do that on like if you
as a
could you get
devout
a-
Christian, everybody should be allowed to burn a Bible. I still
Thank you.
think that too.
I do too. But
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to protest it in front of the city council.
Go ahead, do it.
could?
You should be allowed to do that. Yeah, yeah, you should be able to
Should
burn
be
the
or can
American.
you?
can. I think it was Texas versus Johnson, where somebody also burned an American flag, and they're like, "You can't burn the American flag." Like, yes, you can, because the whole idea of America is that you can also hate America. Like, you can hate your government if you want to. That's
I
allowed.
wish people understood that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, the freedom to be able to say fuck you to anything, right?
Is it because everybody thinks that they're always going to be the ones talking the loudest? They're always going to be the ones in control and always the ones with the majority. And at some point, that's not going to happen.
So is banning the Palestinian protest, is that dangerous?
Tell me more about that, because
I think they did that like make some
like here, protesting here, allowing people to protest.
somewhere they like some colleges were like, we're not allowing you to protest against, like doing pro-Palestine protests. I could be wrong.
You should be allowed to protest whatever you want. I don't understand how that would incite anything other than what already gets incited by protests. Like, tensions run high. It's okay. It's a viewpoint. It's a viewpoint, and we don't viewpoint discriminate. I mean, you get to think what you want to think, and you get to say what you want to say.
How do you do that? Like, defend something, like you personally, like, what if you were defending murder? Like, how could you do that?
Oh, how can I defend murder?
Or like a book banning, or like a Bible, like you said you're Christian,
Yeah.
pro that. Like, what if somebody burned it, and that was your case to why he was allowed to do that? Like,
Oh yeah, I
in
would
your
have
head,
no
like-
problem with that.
No?
Because okay, one, and a lot of Christians don't understand this either. First of all, the Constitution isn't the Bible. Like, a lot of things are very constitutional that aren't necessarily biblical, but that's okay because we're a government and not a church. So, but like defending murder, one, at the end of the day, everybody's a person and everybody is protected by the Constitution, right? So I'm defending murder. And it would be hard if it was somebody who was like first degree, capital, intentional, like serial killer type stuff. Like, this is a dude who had no regard for human life and I'm just going to go murder people. Okay, well, I just make sure that the process was followed, that because there's always a real danger in the worst types of cases to allow leniency and like little loopholes in
make sure you get 'em?
procedure. Oh yeah.
Okay.
To be like, well, the end justifies the means. Like, it's okay because we already knew he did this really bad thing, so we can cut corners here or we can cut corners here. Maybe we don't have to get a warrant for the DNA sample. Maybe we didn't have to do this. Maybe we didn't do our lineup
and
accurately.
some people would be willing to allow that to happen.
Yeah,
like in all that process.
But the thing is, we're a law of precedence. And so if one thing happens in one place and it's allowed, if nobody ever says anything about it, then you can go back to that and refer to it and said, well, somebody let it happen in this case. And then it becomes a thing where.
So you're keeping that in mind while you're defending this murder. Like, hey,
Absolutely.
go.
So that's what we say. Bad facts make bad law. Bad facts, like the worst of the worst cases, are sometimes the hardest to continue to maintain integrity in the Constitution and say we still have to do it by the book. And I know we might not get this thing, and I know we might not get here, but we still have to follow the Constitution, because somebody else down the road can get accused of the exact same crime, and everybody can think that they had no regard for human life. They absolutely murdered that person with no motive whatever. And because this is what was happening all the time before we had DNA testing. You're like, no, we're certain. We know it's this guy, because you convict them in your head based on what you've already seen without necessarily gathering all the evidence. And or you have witness statements, people who absolutely knew it was that person, and then it wasn't. And DNA exonerates them. We have the Tim Cole Memorial over there on 19th and University.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but people think, oh, they absolutely did it. And so then you disregard procedure, and then innocent people can go to jail for that. So when you're defending one person, you're never just defending one person. You're defending everybody who would ever find themselves in a similar situation. You're defending anybody who's ever going to have their vehicle searched or their home searched or their blood drawn. Mm-hmm. And then to go to the other part, everybody is a human being. And so sometimes it's not even procedure. It's like, I'll go a little bit less than murder on this one, but my job is to zealously advocate for my client. That's what my ethical rules say. And part of that is like, I don't want to see you back in here again. So maybe you did do it, but why? What are you struggling with? So many people who become my clients have like substance abuse issues or just experienced a loss in the family, and they've never known how to properly deal with grief. Like younger kids who have been in juvie for the longest time, like in that system. I'm like, well, you're 14, your dad died. Like, we have to teach you algebra, and we have to teach you English and like how to do sentence diagrams, because you don't know how to do that stuff because you never learned it. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know how to deal with a parent passing. No one taught you that either. And obviously it's hard, and you're going to act out and be, with people without the resources or tools to do what they're supposed to do. So how do I keep you from coming back here? Like, how can I help you get the support that you need? Which sometimes means probation or a psych eval, or making sure that they have a place to stay when they're done, or like telling a prosecutor, please, I don't want to put a label on this person and make them feel like this is who they're going to be for the rest of their life. And then, it's also really easy for prosecutors to see, and I have a problem with some of them, but not all of them. Most of the prosecutors I actually have good relationships with. But it is hard not to see people as just like names on a sheet of paper, like name offense, here's a police report. And you don't know who that person is. You don't know what they're going through. And so being able to humanize someone for the court to be like, there before the grace of God go all of us. Mm-hmm. I think just the more that I get to know people, the more I'm like, yep, very easily could have been in that situation too. Or like, oh man, if I was going through that, like, yeah, I probably would have snapped as well if I didn't know how to cope. Mm-hmm. So,
that's almost everybody's case, huh? Could have been us.
Mm-hmm. There are some people who just like absolutely don't give a fuck.
I was about to ask you, in your whole time in the justice system, have you met people that there's no rhyme or reason? They're just void of. I don't want to say a soul, but
no, I mean, you see an occasional sociopath or two where it's just like, not going to be able to do anything about this. Just keep my head down.
Just do the case and let it go.
I maybe have one or two of those right now where you're like, all right, like that's the hard part of being a court-appointed attorney. There are some people who just think you're the stupidest person on the planet, will never listen to a word you say, will constantly second-guess everything you do and tell you that you're doing a horrible job just because that's how they are to everyone. And constantly like, I need a new lawyer. I'm like, well, sorry, you're stuck with me. So you can stop being a brat so that I actually want to work on your case, or you can continue being an asshole. And like, I will do my ethical duty, but I'm not going to be happy about it. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes to fight for people who actively just like don't care because they just enjoy, and I'll say it, it's typically going to be a male client who has a problem with women. And I was talking to another female attorney about that the other day. You already have clients who are like that, no matter what you are, like male, female attorney. You have jailhouse lawyers who are like, oh, but why don't you do this? Or, well, my friend got this, and I don't believe you. Why can't I get this deal? But then there are some people who just like are actively working against you, who like just want to blow it up. And I don't know. A lot of times,
Good
they don't
old
want to
crash out, huh?
Oh yeah, and they don't want like a female attorney. They want to feel powerful.
Even in that position.
Yeah. So
God damn.
now sometimes I get a lot of respect, but then there's a reason that I did jujitsu for as long as I did, because when I go to smaller counties to go meet with defendants in Lubbock, you go downstairs to the basement. There's a glass here. You talk through a phone. In smaller counties, they'll like put me in what is like the little library. So there's a bunch of books and stuff around, or it's an old office with an old desk from the 70s with like a metal corner on the edge of the desk. And there after a while, I was like, I was dealing with a guy who was habitual felony offender, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon against his like domestic aggravated assault. He hates women, women. And here I am, his attorney. And I'm thinking, if he got mad, he could just bash my head in that table right there. So I would
if he
start,
wanted to, he totally could.
Yeah, and I know the guards are right outside the door, but I'm like, okay, well, if I sit here with my back against the wall here, then I could get that there. I could I could hopefully kick him away and get out the door, and I'd put my legal pad right on top of the corner of the table so that at least like I'd be hitting a leather pad instead of the corner of a sharp desk. You think about that sometimes. And so I did start doing a lot more self-defense just in case.
Have you ever had any kind of like physical run-ins at all your whole career? Like, has anybody ever tried to like...
With some juveniles, but nothing crazy. But I mean, for the most part, situational awareness comes into a lot of that, where I'm just away from it before it happens. But I've had to restrain a few of my clients sometimes who are about to, like, we'd be in the jury room talking, and they're like, I'm just going to go. I'm like, no. And you just...
Put the jujitsu moves on him?
Yeah, you're like holding your client so that he won't run out of the jury room and go, like, until it passes. Because, you know, some people don't know how to control that. I do a lot of like hand holding of really big dudes. That's what I've noticed. Is like there are a lot of really scary dudes who I just am like holding their hand. Like, it's okay. We're going to be all right. But yeah, doing jujitsu made me feel a lot more confident about that kind of stuff, because you can get around it. But the juveniles probably scared me the worst because it's unpredictable.
Is it acceptable, like if you were to take one, like a case from me, like almost like a barter, like, hey, I'm a landscaper, so I was like, hey, can I mow your yard for a year?
I need to look up that rule because I don't know. I feel like probably yes. They just, I'm currently taking ethics things right now because it's due tonight. So I'll go see if that was on my video. I know that I'm not allowed to like help out clients financially, like, put money on their books, or if somebody needed a place to stay for the night, like I'm not allowed to financially contribute to that at all. But could we barter? Probably, as long as it was in a contract. I don't know.
Now you just because you mentioned this, I wanted to ask you about your friend and the Me Too thing. Are you allowed, let's say later down the path, after you already represented them and all that, to have a relationship with any of your ex-clients?
Like a friendship or like relationship?
Make them your partner.
So I think while you're actively representing someone, no, you're not allowed to do that. If I had an existing relationship with them before, then I can. And then yes, after you still can, as long as there's no ongoing litigation. And if you're really neurotic, like some lawyers, you'd probably make them sign like a conflict of interest waiver or something. So...
Yeah, because you had mentioned you used to do a podcast with the man who got Me Too'd.
Yeah, he got Me Too'd.
What was his name? Can we talk about it?
I think so. I don't think he's probably not going to watch this, but he's too busy.
Only reason I'm bringing it up is because he was on Rogan, which is really cool.
Yeah,
which is really fucking cool.
I used to co-host Rear Naked Radio with Jamie Kilstein, and yeah, his whole thing was that he got accused of sexual misconduct in a Jezebel article for just essentially, if I could sum it up, one of the people they talked to was like, he was always really nice to me and was very respectful. But I guess technically he had more power than I did. And then another girl was like, oh, I like, it was like a fan from one of the shows or something. And they were like, no, he was fine. It's just, you should never have a relationship with any of your fans because there's a power imbalance. So sexual misconduct, which is not a thing. It's not sexual assault. It's not anything. It's not anything that made people, that was aggressive, that was non-consensual, that was anything. It was just that he was a self-proclaimed feminist at the time and was like so big into cancel culture, and he was like living deep in that little world. And so what are they always doing? Looking for someone to cancel. Mm-hmm. And it has been so hard, like the way that people witch hunt people like that and don't let go is really... That would be when I would have a problem with free speech, like online trolls, internet trolls, people trying to.
Come on,
I feel like
people.
That's really like worrisome because it almost feels like in an attempt to bring things to light or to bring awareness to certain things. It's almost like people are so adamant on just making the words fit or just making the situation fit or just wanting to regurgitate what they've always wanted to say, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. They want it, well, because it gave you, I can't remember what it's called, like your social...
What's almost like you
whatever.
did your part. You did your social justice part. You did.
Yes.
You served your community. You protected somebody that...
Well, and a lot of people don't want to be left out.
Oh,
Go ahead.
And people say, I'm an ally.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and people want to like look cool, or they don't want to be left out, or they want to be a victim too. And that's where I get on my soapbox in cases. 'Cause like I was a victim of domestic violence and it was horrible. And a lot of people didn't believe me. And, I've had like women on the stand who have completely lied and made it up. Have admitted halfway through, like I got a case dismissed second day of trial. Cause I'm like, have y'all talked to the victim? Like she hurts him and she's lying about what happened. Like she was drunk in that car. I can guarantee you she was drunk in that car and causing a scene and she jerked his wheel and that's why everything happened. And she lied to get out of trouble. And it turns out that's exactly what happened. She lied to get out of trouble. So then you have a lot of people just wanting to be like, cool, look at me, look at this. And then that whole Me Too movement, as someone who went through that, was like, you have to stop because you're making it worse. What I would call it is, I'm like, a lot of people have these versions of like TV sexual assault, TV domestic violence, like what it looks like on TV. And real assault victims, real domestic abuse victims, like that's not what it looks like. Mm-hmm. It looks totally different. So you can usually tell when somebody is not. I remember watching the Gabby Petito video. Mm-hmm. Did you, like the girl who got murdered? Mm-hmm. And he's just like charming everyone, saying nothing happened. I'm watching this body cam. I sat my sons down. I've got an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. I'm like, sit down and watch this. What do you think about what this girl is saying? Like, oh, I was being crazy. I was the one who did this, whatever. You know, like, what do you think? And what do you think about him? Do you think he's telling the truth? Like, what do you think? Who do you like? And everybody was like, oh, yeah, he seems reasonable. She seems like she was a little crazy. Like, she's not. I'm like, okay, well, he murdered her. So that is a woman telling the truth. And I need you to look at that. I need you to look at what women who are telling the truth are women who are, she wasn't telling the truth. She was covering for what was happening. I need you to listen to what really happens when women are suffering, because
it's teaching situational awareness, and it's almost just, it's almost like just teaching some kind of like decorum of like, you know, like knowing your surroundings and being able to read a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, don't just listen to what somebody's telling you. Like we have to look at what actually happens to people who are in those situations. And a lot of times it's not a woman coming forward just being like, everything is terrible. Let me Facebook about it. Let me put it on Instagram and like,
let me spill my guts to you about how shitty I've been treated. You know what I mean?
Just so I can get social media followers.
Yeah.
Like, is it hard to prove domestic violence? Like, do those cases rarely get like guilty? Man,
so those are definitely your he said, she said cases, and I'm not sure what the statistics are on that one. I have not successfully defended a domestic assault, except for actually that one. Other than that case, I haven't done as many in trial. I've maybe only had 3 or 4, but I think the rest of them, because what do you do?
I'm just asking because I've heard this, and I don't know if like rape is hard to prove.
Mm-hmm. It
Which
can be
sucks.
without DNA for sure, and especially date rape. That's a hard one because, I mean, gosh, the things you have to teach your children when they get older. Like, I mean, that's why doctors. Okay, it's hard to prove, but then at the same time, depending on your jury, they will convict someone just because they're accused of it, right? So many people, just the accusation alone will ruin your life.
Which also sucks.
Yeah. And so that's why you always have the 3-person rule, which is like never have a male doctor in a room with a female patient. You bring in somebody else because that accusation can come from anywhere and immediately it's going to mess up your life. And so, because everybody sees the news articles about the person being accused, but never, by the way, we wrapped this up and that was actually false, but that doesn't make, stories. And so people deal with that in their reputation, like lose jobs, businesses, stuff like that. I had a sweet man. He was my first trial and acquittal. I did that back in, like 10 years ago, but it was about a sexual assault of a child, which was a hard one. And it was a 14-year-old girl on the other side. And the thing is, nothing happened, but she was going to get in trouble with her mom for the time that she came home because she went to go meet her boyfriend and all sorts of stuff like that. And her mom was really unstable, was an addict. And the last time her mom had really ever been involved in her life was when the little girl actually was assaulted and was doing a bunch of CPS cases and stuff. And so I think that she maybe just defaulted back to, my mom's going to kill me. This guy touched me, like the other guy whose house I was staying at, because she was there with her cousin and whatnot. And then on the stand, she's like, okay, no, he actually didn't try any of that. I'm sorry. I was just afraid I was going to get in trouble. And I'm sorry it got this far.
When that happens, do they get in trouble or do they get fined? Or is it just kind of like,
no,
don't do that ever again?
Yeah.
It's pretty much,
a tough one.
Yeah, it's like, just don't do that, because you get in trouble for perjury. Perjury is a felony. And I have never seen anyone who's filed a false police report or perjured themselves like that get any sort of repercussion from that. So I think because sometimes it is hard. I don't know that anybody maliciously and willfully goes in like, I'm going to ruin this person's life, so I'm going to make this accusation. A lot of times it's a very complicated situation. A lot of times you have women who are like maybe having an affair and didn't want their husband to know. And so they're just they're like panicking and just saying what they can. And then it's like Macbeth and his wife, like they've already started this plot and it's going too far. And like, I've waded through this river of blood so far. I can't turn around now. I just got to go all the way through. And I mean, so I think that's probably why we don't prosecute that stuff. If somebody's going around actively making stuff up and there was more than one occurrence of that, I think there might be some consequences. But no, there's really, other than that, like if it's a one-off, there's not a lot of consequences for lying. And it's crazy to me.
I almost feel bad for that girl, but it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's a horrible
situation. Another attorney was helping me with that one. He was the lead and I was second chair. And he was like almost crying, talking to her like, I don't think you're bad, like, but can you tell me what was going on? And it was the best, Charles Chambers was the best cross-examination of a victim I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Because he's a human too. Because he didn't go in there like, this little brat is making up stuff about my client, blah, blah, blah. He just saw her as another victim and all of it. Like, I'm so sorry. I know that you didn't mean to do this, but
you did it.
We got to tell the truth now because this guy could go, like, he was in jail for 18 months before we even got to trial.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, depending on the nature of the crime.
And even then, that's like so damning. Like, even if he was like proven innocent, like that's still just, some people are just like, no, he did it.
He lost a bunch. And really the only way that he got jobs afterwards was word of mouth. Just, I mean, like manual labor kind of things. It will ruin a person's life. So I don't know. it's hard. That's why I try not to do felonies as much anymore, because even the consequences of getting it wrong. Like, I knew one time that my client was absolutely innocent, but the person who did it had committed suicide. And so because of evidentiary rules and stuff, and because you don't have somebody available, like, you couldn't bring any of that in. And he got sentenced to 40 years in prison. 40. He was like 19 at the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I knew he didn't do it. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
That still haunts me to this day.
I've heard of cases, like, not just like that, but like of cases of lawyers really like being pained of, like, even if like it's them and against like somebody else, if that lawyer is maybe like a little bit newer or fresher and they maybe aren't as like well versed in how things need to be entered or documented, like they will see that person with a strong case completely nosedive because they forgot to enter in something, correctly, or they forgot to like tell the judge a certain type of, whatever to get something entered in court. And that's how like things just get completely dismissed.
Oh, sometimes. Yeah.
Like, are you just can't interfere because that's just,
well, there's that has a lot of threads. So if you go back to the O.J. Simpson case, like, he was found not guilty.
right.
That's because nobody was doing their job. Like, but it wasn't just like one or two things. Literally, the prosecutor it was a shit show. They weren't looking at their case law. I don't even know. I remember at one point.
And that was also during like the Rodney King stuff. So
yeah, I mean, but you have sometimes, and again, sometimes when prosecutors think, oh, this is easy, it's a slam dunk, everybody knows, sometimes they forget to follow procedure. Although a good prosecutor would be like, this is the time that we are not making a single mistake on this, because we know, like, if they know what happened, then you should actually be extra careful. No, but most anything that's going to get thrown out, this is a hard one. Like, we have this fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. So you might find a murder weapon, but if anywhere in the chain before you found that, somebody did something illegal, you can get the whole thing suppressed. So anything that stemmed from a bad search all gets thrown out. God. And that a lot of times is. And I tell people, don't get mad at me for getting that suppressed. Get mad at the cop who didn't do his job right, or get mad at the prosecutor who didn't file the right indictment. Like, they have to do their jobs too. And I'm just here making sure that they do their jobs because they're bound by the Constitution. I'm bound by the Constitution. And if it really is this sacred document that we all follow, then we better do our jobs right. If my job is to take people's liberty away, like... Yeah,
like, I'm sorry I'm doing my job by the book. I'm sorry nobody takes it as seriously.
Exactly.
As we're supposed to.
Yeah. And so... Yeah, because I don't ever try to get people off on like a technicality just to get somebody off on a technicality. It's because it's something that constitutionally should never have happened, and so you just follow the rules. That's what it is. And you're normally not going to get like huge cases thrown out with something like that, but it's possible. So
yeah, I think the situation I heard it in was like a custody case or something like that.
Yeah,
and this lawyer was just like, I felt so bad because dad had a lot of money. That's who he was representing. Okay. Mom did not have a great lawyer, but you know what I mean? But they had a great case, but lawyer just...
So with civil cases, for sure, there aren't as many checks and balances necessarily there. And again, you get what you pay for. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, if you have a bunch of money, typically, like, there are some law firms here where they have paralegals and they have law clerks who are just like interns who are doing all the copying and entering, like, scanning things in. The paralegals, like, watching the depositions and writing down information and helping draw up all the documents. And then you've got, and then the lawyer is maybe doing some research and actually in court doing what they're supposed to do. And then you have like mom and pop shops where it's like one person, a solo practice attorney who maybe barely has a secretary. And they're like, okay, I'm going to do my best for you because I'm all that you can afford. But like, I can't go hire a private detective, and I don't have somebody who's going to enter in all of this stuff for me, and maybe you forget a deadline, or you didn't get almost no one forgets a deadline. I think even solo attorneys were like, we have to make sure that everything's done when it's supposed to be done. But there are things it's like I just couldn't even get to that. Like I don't have enough resources to do as much work as another attorney might have, having a team of people to help them. And so what happens is the person with more money a lot of times comes out with better outcomes, especially in more complicated cases, just because you have way more bodies to put on the problem. So that's what's hard. That's what's hard. I don't know. I've gone up against those bigger firms before, and I used to work in a big firm, so I mean I know what that's like. And now I'm a solo attorney, so it's just me, and you can get stuff done, but it's just like I wish I had someone to type up my my stuff so I could just focus on the lawyer things.
I'm still thinking about that 40-year thing. God damn.
It's hard. It was hard. That's the hard thing too. The jury got hung up. They get hung up on like the weirdest facts. It wasn't an actual hung jury. It's
if
just
you put me on a jury, it's gonna get hung. Okay.
Oh my God.
It's just like what they were talking about.
I was just about to bring up that movie, but I'll wait.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just like stuff that they'll want to talk about a lot back in the jury room when they're deliberating. So everything about them, and something that the other attorney and I didn't necessarily notice was like his hoodie. Something about his hoodie that I never thought was a part of the fact in the case. The jury spent the longest time talking about the color of his hoodie or something because the witness had made one little comment, barely. And they were like, well, maybe if they could show us this part of his hoodie or like this thing to see if it matched the description. And so they were about to let him off if there had been more evidence about the hoodie he was wearing. But we had no idea that was going to come into play in their deliberations, and it did. And so then you're kicking yourself like, did we completely miss that? Like, and a bunch of us had worked on it the weekend before, like having extra people come and look and like practicing what we were saying and what we were looking at in the evidence, kind of like test running the case. Didn't come up with anybody ever. And sometimes with juries, you'll get that where you're like, why are they fixating on this one little thing? Sometimes it doesn't matter at all, and sometimes it's really crucial, and you just maybe never saw it from that angle before. Because when you're the attorney, you can get really deep in the weeds, and like you can know, oh, well, I know the position of the sun at this time. And like the other day, I was pulling lunar charts to be like, well, could he see the cop vehicle because because it was a new moon that night, which meant it would have been really dark. And where's that street light? And you're diagramming all this stuff, and then like you miss one of the bigger pictures.
So this is what you get paid to do.
Oh yeah,
All of that,
like fun stuff. The prosecutor talked so much shit to me about. Because I pulled up my lunar chart. By the way, I got a guilty in 8 minutes. It was the worst verdict I've ever had in my life. I swear I'm a good lawyer, but sometimes juries just like make up their minds very quickly. But the prosecutor was like, oh, well, she brought out her lunar chart, which you normally see with a horoscope reading. And I'm like, we're about to have some words because.
Are you friends with prosecutors?
Some of them, yeah. Most of them.
Are you friends with judges?
Yeah.
Because speaking on this money thing, like, it's just what happened. I got arrested when I was 19 for a felony. Stupid fucking thing. And Trey Payne, shout out my boy. He made it quick, and it didn't,
Really?
Like, I didn't even have to do anything. I just had like 20 hours community service.
I love that.
Where was I going with that? What would I just say? Before that?
Am I friends with prosecutors or judges?
Oh, yeah. That's how, because I guess he knew the fucking DA and knew the judges, and he was like, I'll just put in a good word. I don't know if is that,
So first of all, there's not a DA in Lubbock who's going to be like, oh, this defense attorney put in a good word for me. No, it's nobody. Well, at least from
he said
my
he knew
experience,
all these people,
but we all know everybody, and so that's talking up just to make sure that you think that he's cool.
Well, you did a good job.
Shout out to Trey, but you know that's something that we all say to all our clients.
I love you, Trey.
No, he did a good job. But at the same time, what that means is that he had already built up a lot of credibility with the prosecutor. So that's a huge thing. It is much harder to negotiate with a prosecutor that you've never met before, like who doesn't know you from Adam, than it is to negotiate with a prosecutor who went to law school with you and was in Christian Legal Society with you. I was like Christian Legal Society president for a while. So I'm like, tell me I'm a bad person. Tell me that you think that I'm like unethical defending criminals. You know I'm not. You know who I am. Because a lot of prosecutors come out with like that sort of very devil behind every bush mindset. And
But that stuff matters. Like,
it does.
Yeah.
But like knowing when they know who you are and they know that you're a person of your word, if you do put in a good word for your client, it's like when I put in a good word for my client, I'm putting in a good word for my client because I don't do that for everybody.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, it is important and it does matter. It's just not like we're not bribing judges or like no judge or prosecutor is going to do you a favor. Some people say, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that. Am I?
Can you say it and we'll cut it out?
I don't know. So there's well, it's on the record. So there's a juror the other day who was like, well, I did have a DWI, but I didn't have a conviction because the judge owed my lawyer a favor. And so he took me in front of a particular judge and that judge dismissed my charges. I was like, what? Or they did a bench trial in front of the judge and the judge acquitted him. They literally did nothing. And I was like, so that really does happen? I'm sure it happens in some of these smaller towns. I do some local counsel stuff, which is basically like bigger firms in Dallas and Austin or whatever who don't want to come to West Texas will hire me to go to these little like justice of the peace courts and things. And I've met some wild people. I've been in like stock barns and shops and sheriff's offices and insurance offices. And there's this one old judge who was talking to me about the dog fighting ring he used to run back in the day with illegal immigrants. Like, I mean, just like saying the most offensive things.
Was he white?
And yeah, like the whitest old man. And I'm like,
Usually the
what
coldest
in
dudes.
the hillbilly is this? It was.
So if they lost, you put them in
interesting.
jail.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, it was. I'm like, are you really openly talking to me about this? Okay, I guess you are. So,
Shit.
but
Jen's
No.
on her cigarette thing since we got back from Europe.
Yeah, I don't even know if this is a real cigarette. There's 2 filters.
Is there a line? There is 2 filters. What the fuck?
It was just the short one on my cigarette thing.
They put that in there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is it just
do they
one
all
big
look like that or
filter?
just that one?
Just this one. Sorry. Continue. I was just looking for a cigarette to smoke.
Would you ever be a prosecutor?
Morally and ethically, I don't know, but can I work a 9 to 5? Absolutely not. So no, I couldn't be a prosecutor for that reason. Could I? Part of me would want to be a prosecutor in the sense that I don't think I'd file as many cases as people are filing right now. There are some prosecutors right now who do a really good job of that. Like, why are we even wasting resources on this? This is nothing. And I would be like, after COVID hit, I would have been like looking at all my cases that were first time nonviolent offenses. And I would have just dismissed all of them and been like, this is battlefield law. This is like battlefield medicine. Like, if I'm having surgery in a perfect environment, I want to be in my sanitized, sterilized room and have all my tools and equipment. But if I'm in a war, I'm going to jam your leg with morphine, throw a tourniquet on it, and like hope that somebody can come by and help you out. So after the COVID stuff, I'm like, why are we still nitpicking on so many of these little cases? Like, let's just battlefield law right now, like throw it all out. And a lot of people wouldn't. But I would like to think that I would humanize people. There are some prosecutors who actually really do that. I had a trans client the other day who we couldn't necessarily find a very good offer, and I told the prosecutor, I'm like, please don't make me put her in front of a jury. You know what a Lubbock jury is going to do to her. And he was like, okay, how can I help her out? Like, what can we do? How can you work with me? And he really, I felt like, was very humanizing and like, well, listen, there are some prosecutors who will really listen if I say this mom just like her daughter committed suicide and 2 of her boys were murdered all within 3 years of each other. She was not in a good place. What can we do for her? Some people will look at them like humans, and some prosecutors are like, well, they should have coped with it better. Like,
Well, they
I
shouldn't
would
have broken the law.
Yeah. It's the same prosecutor who asked me, like, I thought you already had a flat tire. Why do you have another one? I'm like, go replace your tires. Like, I don't have enough money to replace all 4 of them. You're a lawyer. Yes, you do. I'm like, No, I really don't. I don't know. People like that who are just like constantly telling you that
Yeah.
like
Are they elected
Their
or
world is as
appointed?
black as white. Is like their little bubble that they live in.
right?
Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's
And you're
the
like,
worst person
please
to have on.
understand. The district attorney proper, like Sunshine Stanek, she is elected, I believe. But everybody else just gets hired. So, but that's hard too in Lubbock in particular because we've got some really good prosecutors, but you don't get paid anything. It's a very low paying job and you don't get a lot of support. And so we have a lot of turnover. So we'll make really good headway on negotiations with one prosecutor and then they get moved to another court and then they get moved to a higher court. And I never know, like none of us ever know who's working on whatever. People stay there like 6 months to a year on average. Maybe we'll get them for a couple years if we're lucky, but they're just constantly rotating out. So then that's hard too, because then justice at the misdemeanor level is like constantly new people just with a stepping stone into another career.
Wow.
So,
Oh, I forgot I was going to ask you this. If a girl slapped my butt, is that sexual assault? And I didn't want it.
if you didn't want it, depending, that could be Class C offensive contact, like Class C assault. So it was offensive touching, non-consensual offensive touching. But because it was genitalia, technically, or like falls under, it's like buttocks, vagina, penis, boobs, all of that. So if you're touching any of that and it's unwanted sexual contact, yeah, could be. Are they going to file it? Probably not, because
Well, what the fuck?
I know. But if a guy did that to me, would they file it? If a guy did that to me, probably not either. I don't know.
So it's
I'd
fair.
probably have to make a pretty big deal about it.
It's fairly unfair, I guess.
So,
Well, if you're gonna be unfair, be unfair to both of
so
us.
speaking of that, I had a case once where a guy, he's the sweetest little teddy bear of a guy that I've ever seen my whole entire life, just like so sweet. But his girlfriend had been cheating on him and he found out. And so he went to the house that he had just very recently lived in with her and he sees the guy's car there. So he breaks into the house because she had changed the lock. So he broke the screen door off.
Yeah.
And he walked in there and he caught them together and he was so mad. He spanked her butt. Like that's what he did. Everybody
Oh
says
my
it. Like all the police
gosh.
reports, he was like mad, but he like slapped her butt is what he did. So, but because he was breaking and entering with the intent to commit a felony.
Was it like assault?
Yes, he got like, I think it got upgraded to burglary and I had to get it downgraded. I'm like, oh, he slapped her butt because he was mad. Like this man
Like,
going
he
on a
kinda smacked the back of her
rampage.
head or something,
I
and he
know.
was just like,
Like,
bitch.
this is the angriest this man has ever been in his whole entire life, and he still only just smacked her butt. I'm like,
Bless
that's
him.
not.
What if I'm so petty and so pissed off that my girlfriend is tickling me? Is that assault?
It could be. You could totally
chill out
loophole
over
that
there.
into.
Don't start with
yeah,
that shit.
Yeah.
I hate it. I fucking hate it.
There
Oh.
are so many, that's what's annoying is like if people make a big enough fuss about it, so many things could be illegal that we don't even know.
All right, well, we won't do that then.
Please don't.
I could call your farts assault.
Yes, you could.
Also a civil case for what is it?
Call it
Like a
chemical
breach
warfare.
of quiet enjoyment, like constructive eviction because you can't live in your house anymore because his farts are too bad.
Because I can't drive my car in peace without you just wrecking me.
You better be careful. You open up a can of worms. Damn. Mine are, no disrespect, mine are pretty deadly. Like, it could reach a court. That's how bad they are.
That would be the way to get out of jury duty. Just,
Start farting in there?
oh yeah. Be like, I'm sorry,
I
I'm
got
just
so many things I'm
having,
going to do.
no, we don't want.
Wear my MAGA hat.
We do that a lot. We let people go if you have any sort of like medical issue because we usually have like, okay, one, I want to bust a jury, which means I don't want to have enough people left in my jury pool to be able to have a jury. That's called busting a jury. So as a defense attorney, that's one thing that you like is not having enough people to actually go through to trial because then what does it do? It makes the prosecutor like, oh great, now I have to prepare again and find another jury. So yeah, if people have like, I'm very quick to be like, let them go. They have a doctor's appointment. That's fine. They're feeling a little faint today. Perfect.
They've got diabetes. Let
Right.
them go.
Oh, it's going to be hard for you to sit in a chair. You have hearing problems, ma'am? Absolutely. No objection, Your Honor. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my dad says. He's got a hearing aid and he's got diabetes. So
Yeah.
he always gets dismissed.
I mean, you have to tell the truth because you have to swear an oath when you get there, but
Right.
No problem.
don't hold back. Any
no
sort
problem
of
telling any
secret
sort of-
thought you ever had. People try to be polite. That's the one thing I can't pull out of people.
I got one.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna tell them I got a hemorrhoid and it really hurts.
Absolutely.
Because that's true.
Okay. Yeah. And like, it's going to be hard for me to sit on these
You're gonna be
benches.
the
I don't
one
know.
juror that's just fidgeting the whole time.
Because you say, I feel like that will affect my ability to focus and concentrate on this case. And I absolutely don't want someone going to jail or me not looking at the evidence because I'm uncomfortable. Like, because everybody, that's what I try to tell people. We're not looking, you don't have any wrong answers. There are no bad answers. It is just for this case. It's kind of like a job interview. Are you a good fit for this? If you're not, cool. Like maybe you'd be a good fit for another case, but just not this one. Like, I'm not going to sit on a jury for a domestic violence case because there's too much stuff, attached to that. Or if my house was robbed, I'm never going to sit in on a robbery case, a theft case, something like that. If police had, detained me in handcuffs for 2 hours based on an illegal search and then they apologized and let me go and now I'm afraid of them and I hate them, I'm not going to be a good fit for a criminal case because I'm going to be biased against anything that an officer said. So, yeah.
3 things now.
No, so that's the thing. It's just like,
I've
be
been
honest. But some people aren't honest about it. I'm like, why not? It's not a wrong answer. It'll probably get you out of jury duty. You're not trying to impress me. You're not trying to impress the judge. Just say how you feel and what you think.
You're gonna pick me. I'm good at 3 things. We're good here.
So there you go.
Do you get paid for that? To be on a jury or whatever?
Minimally. I don't know what it is per day now. I want to say like $60 is what it used to be. It might be more now. Maybe like $100 a day. But like, what is that going to do for
I
you?
remember one time, like, I was summoned for jury duty, and then I made it to like the second round. Like, they kind of cleared the room a little bit, and then they cleared me after that round, and I made like $14 or something that I was able to pull out of an ATM there.
Oh, wow.
So I did not make it far. Like, I was in like a room of 100.
Yeah.
And then I was like in a room of like 60 people or something.
Yeah. I think just the pool in and of itself like will give you like $20. But then everything else, if you actually are on the jury, you get a little bit. But
yeah, I might have been in that room for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So I would say minimum wage at the time.
we try to keep it pretty short.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you lose juries if you talk to them too much in Fort Dyer because people get bored.
I didn't even get to talk to anybody. I just wasn't selected anymore. Yeah. So it was like years ago. That was the only time I ever had to go to jury duty.
If you get caught peeing near like a school,
oh, so that's
is that serious?
Indecent exposure, and then it's
Do you get put on a sex offender list for that?
for any sort of peeing in public. Yeah, you have to be on a sex offender list.
What,
Ask
any?
me how I know most of it. Yeah, my uncle almost got put on a sex offender list because he always would pee out on the golf course.
Oh my God.
He got in
you
trouble.
know, I'm landscaper, so sometimes you gotta pee, and there's a lot of schools in areas.
Just be
Better watch
careful, but it's just
I'm not a creep or anything. I just gotta fucking pee.
I have boys and
You know,
I have a
we
boyfriend,
like to pee outside.
and I'm sorry. As soon as we get home, they're like, "I really have to pee," and they will hop out of the car and they'll just pee by a tree. I'm like,
There's something about
door
it.
is right there.
You guys will never understand.
I will never understand, but I know that it is a primal urge of men to be able to pee outside on a tree.
Oh my God.
I don't know why it's so gratifying.
But you can put it on a list. God damn.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it,
yeah.
kinda.
It really makes you wonder, like, how many people are on sex offender lists, and it's like that, or like they had sex in a car, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Is revenge porn a thing here? Is that illegal?
Yeah, it still is. Yeah.
thank God.
Oh, thank God. That's what I was asking. I'm just thinking of cases in my head right now.
There
You
was,
don't pee outside. Fucking goddamn.
you have to be careful. Because what was that one the other day that I saw? It was Lubbock County mugshots or something where the guy got arrested for public lewdness, but not necessarily the girl, because I think she was about to give him a blowjob. So he had his pants down. So technically he's public lewdness because his dick's out, but she's not in trouble yet because she's not actually doing anything.
I'm bringing you down
Sexual.
with me. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
We'll both get in trouble.
Yeah. Just gotta be careful.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
But even think about that, like all the college kids parked in cars around parks. I went to Abilene Christian for a year, and like everybody goes out to their makeout spots, and they're all. I mean, I've been
Melanie Park, I'm telling you.
I used to throw water balloons in cars with the people with the windows cracked to make out. That was how I got in trouble. But no, like you could stop so many people for that kind of stuff. It's like nobody wants to do that much paperwork. So are you really going to get in trouble for it? No. Maybe down in the Depot district if people are watching, but nowhere else.
Hey. And what constitutes a PI? Like if I'm walking home fucked up, they can get me?
Yeah.
Or if I had one beer?
I have to read the statute.
This is important. These are issues that could, not the pee, well, yeah, the peeing one, but you know.
Oh, no. Let me read the statute real quick.
Let's hear it. I need legal advice. Subscribe to the Patreon, people. She's charging me for the hour.
Absolutely not. Let's see. Class C misdemeanor. Okay, so you have to, it's one of those nebulous terms again. It occurs when someone appears in a public place while intoxicated to the degree that they may endanger themselves or another person.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm
it's just
stumbling
like
around.
so bad that you think they're going to walk out in front of a car or they're going to get in a fight or something.
The Lime scooter. If you're driving that, is that a DWI?
So it could be, possibly. If you can classify that as a motor vehicle, which is, it doesn't have to have, because motorcycle's a motor vehicle.
The boat? That's
Cars,
a big issue.
Boat, huge one, especially out in Buffalo. You get those all the time. If you're intoxicated on one of those, and a golf cart, yep. You can get arrested in all of those. It's just who wants to make that big of a deal out of it. I would think you'd really have to piss off a cop to get in trouble for that, or just have a really dickhead cop,
I'm just all over the place. What makes something a capital murder?
A capital offense is it's a first degree charge that was like intentional. So it's usually not manslaughter or like second degree murder where there was heat of passion. There was some sort of capital murder is I was going to kill somebody and I did. I think we have a capital murder here, one that I was like peripherally involved with. I represented one of the juveniles, but it was, and I don't know if it's even gone to trial yet. It probably has, but years ago. But some kids going to rob a step grandpa, and nobody was supposed to get shot, but the grandpa confronted them, and they killed the grandpa, and it turned up to be a capital offense. So it was like you were going there with the intention to do something illegal. You were going there with the intention to commit a felony, to do something bad, and then something bad happened. So those types of cases, capital offenses are...
Yeah, my friends are friends with that person.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
That was a lot.
With capital murder cases, do they typically take like how you said, like they probably haven't been in trial yet? Is that like something that usually takes like years to develop?
Years. So the shooter was in jail at least for 3 years, from what I remember. They probably worked out a plea bargain by this point, because that happened in I want to say 2019, 2020. So it's been a long time. But a felony murder trial, 2 years minimum before something like that goes to trial, I would think. Sometimes longer, because there's so many motions and evidence and everything that you have to do, because you want to make sure that you get those right.
Right.
And then there are only a few attorneys in town who actually are qualified to take on first degree. Like, I think, could I technically represent someone in a capital offense just because I'm an attorney? Yeah. But the way that the private defender's office works or stuff like that, if somebody's indigent, we make sure that people have a certain amount of qualifications before they're getting funded to do the capital murder cases. And I think we only have 3 on the list right now who do it.
Oh, wow.
And that means you can capital punishment?
Yeah. So, death penalty's on the table.
I couldn't think of the word.
Mm-hmm. Say what?
I couldn't, death penalty, it wasn't coming to me.
So there's a thing about West Texas juries that I can't remember. It was one of the Supreme Court justices, retired, came and spoke to some people in West Texas about stuff, and was given a talk about interviewing a jury at some point, and whether a Texas jury would be comfortable with the death penalty. Because it's a question they have to ask, like, would you are you morally opposed to, like, would you be able to administer the death penalty? Would you be able to administer, like, this kind of thing? But because it's phrased that way, one of the potential jurors was like, well, I work Monday through Thursday, but if we did it on a Friday, I'd be fine doing it. Like, he was going to pull the switch. Like, he was the one who was going to actually do. God. That's how we get in West Texas sometimes, where it's like they would shoot him if they could, because we are so pro death penalty. And
which is wild.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Don't they pay people to actually administer it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. I have
wild.
different ideas about the echelon of punishment based on like child sex crimes are now finally up to a first degree. A lot of them are. They didn't used to be. But obviously, like, child sex crimes aren't death penalty cases. But what was always interesting to me is, like, when you have men in prison who have most of the time willfully chosen to disregard the laws of society and are like, I understand this is society and this is what I'm supposed to do. I reject that and I'm still going to function outside of it. And they pay the penalty. They do their time. When people like that see other men come into prison who are like, okay, even those of us who have chosen to live outside of society, that's still not okay. Mm-hmm. Like, that's still the worst of the worst. Why don't we classify those as the worst crimes? Because, like, literally everyone's in agreement that that's the worst. And honestly, the people that I have met who have been the most soulless are like definitively guilty child sex predators who will justify their behavior. It is the most wild justification that I think I've ever heard. That's crazy. Where it's like blaming the victim or blaming your wife or blaming everybody else for making you who you are to do this thing. You're like, that is just, I don't even know how you operate with that level of thought or thinking. So yeah, I think sometimes maybe we need to readjust our punishment system and really think about what's important. But
would you say that typically those inmates get theirs in prison?
Yeah.
It gets handled either way.
Usually, or they all get special housing or something so that they're kept away from. But then, it becomes inordinately more expensive to protect a sex predator in prison.
Right.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get in for talking about all this, but I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I will, but I'm just very honest about these things.
Who would you get in trouble with? Your law firm?
I don't know. I don't even have a law firm. I wonder if other attorneys would be like, you're not zealously advocating for everyone. I'm like, sometimes, the people are pieces of shit, though. Like, we still have to follow the law. Like, you can have pieces of shit clients and still do your job.
I'm not saying I hope that you don't get in but if you do get in trouble, that means people are listening. And, well, like some people to listen to the podcast, please subscribe if you're listening.
Like and subscribe. Where is your podcast at?
Everywhere.
YouTube,
Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Nice.
Google Podcasts, all of that.
Nice.
Man. I don't know. The child thing.
It was that's why I stopped doing felonies, even appeals, because that really I would only handle felonies when I would do appellate law, and I still prefer that. That's why I probably could do prosecutor stuff too. I'm just very cold and clinical when it comes to this is what the law says. This is what it's easier for me to function in that space where it's just words on paper and precedent and things that judges have said. It's much harder for me when I'm actively talking to my client or talking to a victim or talking to a witness, because it's real people with real problems. And sometimes when you do appeals, it's more like a story. It's on paper. I'm reading a record. I'm reading about what happened. I'm not actively like engaging with everybody, and I'm not there at trial. But yeah,
is animal abuse a felony?
Is it now? I think it might be now.
I hope so.
To me, I just remember in law school, a lot of my friends advocating that somebody had written an article about why it needed to be a felony. I think there are some offenses that are felonies now. I haven't had one, so I just haven't seen it. But because you talk about motivations for crimes, or because everything in criminal law is you have actus reus, which is the bad act, and you have mens rea, which is the culpable mind, the guilty mind. So you have to do what I tell my kids: you have to do a bad thing, but you have to do it with a bad heart. And like And when you classify murders, when you classify like assault, anything, it has to be like that intentional, recklessly, or whatever, knowingly. And so intent is such a huge part of crimes. And a lot of times you can, okay, there was drug use, or they were having a fight, or this person's really sensitive because of this. This person, like this guy, looked at his kid wrong and he got mad. There are justifiable motives. But with animals, it's like, there's no reason.
No.
And people who are just cruel to an animal for no reason is probably a sociopath. And I feel like those needed to be more severely penalized, or at least like get people on a watch list when it comes to animal crimes. Because I feel like, because it's also one of the indicators of
serial killer or somebody. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's injuring and torturing something that literally cannot speak.
Your soul.
I know. Can't defend itself, has no idea. And it is only the way that it is, like, especially if you're the owner of a pet, like, it only is the way that it is because of how you've raised it. Or people like going around poisoning people's dogs. Why?
Crazy.
Just for
that
fun,
was
because you
crazy.
can. I knew some kids back in the day. My brother's friend, he used to like bury cats and then would
I don't want to hear this.
lawnmower.
Oh, is he dead?
I don't know, but like, how is that at all like high functioning societal behavior? It's not. Like, that's somebody who needs to have clinical help immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a big indicator of a lot of things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's.
people are
Oh,
gross.
gosh.
And I live out in the country, so I'm like constantly driving past like dump dogs and
Oh no.
Oh,
like
man.
skinny. It's hard not to stop every single day because I'm out by Clovis Highway, and yeah, that's a lot.
Well, way to make this a bummer.
Well, you're talking to a criminal defense attorney. It's not like it's going to be happy over here.
The animal thing, just children and animals.
I can't do it. Okay, but I'll put in a plug for a website that I don't have any ownership in, but it's called doesthedogdie.com. And so you can look up any movie that you're about to watch, and you can put in the name of the movie, and you can make sure that like
God.
no animals are going to die.
I needed that when I was watching A Quiet Place Day 1 the other day, and it's got a cat, and the entire time I was like, I didn't care about any of the people. I was just
Terrified
like,
the whole time, like, is he going to come back?
God, why is he going up that beam right now?
He survived. He's a good boy.
can't do it.
Spoiler alert: the cat survives. That's all that
Oh,
matters.
shit. Sorry.
Does the dog die? See, you would have known that on doesthedogdie.com, because I can't
That's a damn good website.
as much of the things like dark things that I look at, or like horrible podcasts that I listen to. Like, I can't do animals. No, I'll bawl. Can't do children. Again, why I don't do felonies.
I love horror movies and thrillers and things like that, and I can watch pretty much anything, but anything regarding an animal, even like an elderly person. I don't know why like harm to an elderly person really gets me.
Like in a movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, just in general.
Well,
Or like some people can do like, this is disgusting, but like Faces of Death or like ABCs of Death.
No,
and
I
stuff
can do
like
all that, but animals,
I can't
no.
do anything like that.
Once animals involved, I could see
Yeah.
people get their heads cut off.
yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
Well, it's part of that. So crimes are actually enhanced if it's against a child, or if it's against the elderly, or against somebody either physically or mentally disabled. So, I mean, there are reasons why
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's awful.
Can this is in my head? Sorry. Can two adults, one's mentally disabled, date each other?
Yes. It would depend on their level of consent, though.
Yeah.
Like if one was Downs, the other wasn't, but they're
Well,
adults.
But I watch a lot of like Love is Blind, or
Love
not
on the
Love is Blind.
Spectrum.
Love on the Spectrum is my favorite show. I don't know why I keep calling it Love is Blind. But I mean, you have people with different
Oh, okay, I got you.
functionality, being able to do things. But yeah, like mental acuity, like where you're at, it's interesting because we bring that into the law. Like, could this person execute a contract? Is totally different than, can this person stand trial? I had a guy with like a 41 IQ,
Oh no.
still competent to stand trial apparently, and like couldn't hardly communicate with me. But the psychiatrist came back like, yeah, but he understands the facts of the case and what's happening here. I'm like, he really doesn't.
What
And,
case is similar to that? Was it like the Westminster 3 or whatever? Wasn't one of them like...
One of them was low IQ.
Was he, like low IQ or like autistic or something? And they pretty much like fed him the case and had him regurgitate it. And
that was the one with the main guy's name was Damien, right?
I believe so.
Like the whole
this is like the whole like satanic panic thing.
Yeah.
I just remember one of them. I either he was low IQ or... Oh, I think he was low IQ, and I think they kind of manipulated him because of his family or something.
Yeah.
And
the way that you can get confessions out of people or get them to admit to something that they've never done.
And I think also they were just boys. They were like teenagers, I think.
Mm-hmm. They didn't know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, do you ever listen to that Joe Rogan series with that dude who does the justice for people who've been wrongly convicted?
Oh.
There's a guy that goes on, he's gone on like 5 or 6 times.
I'm sure I've heard some of them, but not all of them.
Yeah,
I feel like he
about,
just did a more recent one too.
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
That I didn't see. But.
Yeah, he talks about like coercing people into confessions. It's like...
The thing I notice is that the amount of coincidences that can happen surrounding a crime are insane. And confirmation bias is insidious. Basically, I remember, and this isn't one of my cases, it was a documentary that I was watching, but a guy got shot and the person who did it was driving like a red Camaro and the dude was wearing a white shirt or something, or like something. I feel like the shirt was somewhat, the car itself and then one other factor where you're like, oh, well, that's really distinct. How many people are they going to find there? So they find one guy, matches a description, also has like some criminal history, like it's got to be that dude. Mm-hmm. And they clear him like it's absolutely not that dude. And like, oh, well, there were like 5 other guys matching that description with the same car with criminal records. Like it's got to be one of them. And like none of those guys. But you're like, how many people within that time frame would have matched that particular description with that car, race, height, clothing? And you're like, well, it's got to be like that one person. You automatically think like it's just one dude, and then you don't realize how many other people fit that set of circumstances. So cops sometimes will get people who fit what they think is that set of circumstances, thinking it couldn't be anything else. There couldn't be any other possibility. But you're supposed to exhaust the other options, because if you lock into that one theory early on, then you don't want to look like an idiot because that's the theory that you wanted. And so now it's not just trying to solve a case, it's trying to maintain your professional integrity, trying to not look stupid in front of your friends. And so you go after these people, a lot of times with good intentions, but just subconsciously in the back of your head, like not following procedure to go, we're supposed to eliminate everything else too and not just focus on this one person. And that doesn't happen. And they do. They can, especially with younger kids, the way that kids want to respond or impress authority figures and are trying really hard to please them or like give somebody the right answer. Even just normal people who, like, if you've been sitting there long enough, like just, I mean, imagine sitting here, like, and we're consensually doing this, but like if in 6 hours we were still sitting here, like how draining and like tiring you're sitting in this chair. Now someone tells you you can't actually leave this table until we say so. And you don't know when you're getting water. You don't know when you're eating. You don't know, you don't have a phone call. You don't know who's coming into the room. And you're sitting there, you get a little disoriented, low blood sugar. You're not sure what's happening. And you just at some point want to say anything to like, how do I make this stop? How do I make this interaction stop? Because I don't know if I say this thing, will that be okay? Because I know I didn't do it. And then sometimes people start making you think. I always tell people, like, my mom would be convicted of murder. She would confess to murder for someone she's never met before because she's such a people pleaser and, like, she's very easily influenced. So she'd be like, well, sometimes I do wear shoes. One time I was at a store and I saw a knife that looked like that. I could have, well, maybe my grandkids could have brought it over to the house. And, I mean, she would just start thinking of ways, like, she'd question her own sanity and would start agreeing to things.
She'd word vomit her way into confession.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's what people do sometimes, especially if you are low IQ, or depending on the situation, like you were raised in, maybe you're like are afraid of authority figures. Maybe you're in like a really toxic household, and the only way you know to cope is to just like put the pieces back for whoever is talking to you. Like, if I just say what you want me to say, then you'll leave me alone. Mm-hmm. I mean, it happens all the time.
Goes back to situational awareness. And I mean, I think just also just being aware, like manipulation is like kind of a little bit of everywhere. Manipulation really is like almost key, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
To like most professions, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And I know.
But then I can imagine how terrifying that is, just kind of being on the other side of just like, you're going to say something, you know what I mean? Like something has to come out of your mouth, and either it's going to, you know, either we can like poke holes in it, or, you know, you'll be okay.
Can people technically tell you anything?
Me? Okay, so the only thing that I'm required to report is if somebody makes a specific threat about a specific person. So if you like told me, hey, I'm gonna like murder my neighbor tomorrow, be like, okay, now I have to tell somebody because you told me who it was.
But what if I told you I did murder him?
Then I can't tell anybody. Yep. If it's already completed, you can tell me where evidence is hidden. You can tell me any of that. Attorney-client privilege covers all of that. It survives death. Yeah, can't tell anybody anything about that.
Does that work for a priest?
Yeah, I think it's the same kind of thing, but specific threat against a specific person. I don't know if that. I don't even know. I think even confession, you're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that one is even more than the attorney one. I think that's just about anything with confidentiality. I'd have to look at it's called the priest penitent privilege. I don't know. I'm going to look it up.
What is that noise?
It's a ghost. My mom, she's doing something.
No, it's not in there. You don't hear like that. You haven't been hearing that for like the last like 2-3 minutes?
Don't freak me out. Let's start talking about a priest.
I know.
That's why I've been looking around.
Gonna have to.
It might be a kitty.
No, I'm literally hearing.
Take your headphones off. See.
Is it me?
No, it's not. I've been staring at everybody's things to see if it's like squeaking or something, or.
I think it was my mom.
Keep an eye out. No, it wasn't. I heard your mom banging on the trash can.
Scared.
I'm scared. I've been hearing it for like 4 minutes now.
Can we get that water?
Yes. You can have this one.
So sometimes there are exceptions. It's state by state, but sometimes there are exceptions where somebody's reporting child abuse.
What was that one really famous case? The exorcism of Emily Rose or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the priest was pretty much almost like, what was he? Like they almost wanted to consider him responsible or like neglect or something.
Yeah.
Like neglectful.
That was a true story.
We like ghosts over here. It's about that time of year when they start coming back.
Stop saying that. I haven't heard anything.
Well, I'm a very big believer in the supernatural world.
So if I said the devil made me do it, that's not you can't use that. I know that's been a thing.
Depending on some of the situations, there are different rules for insanity. And one of the rules used to be if in your delusion, what you were hallucinating, if like you legally could have defended yourself in that delusion, then sometimes you were protected. But if it was like it would have been illegal, even if you were hallucinating, then that was. So like if you said the devil made you do it, I mean, there are those big cases. I'm actually not sure what's happened to that.
I thought that one movie, it was a real case that went to the Supreme Court where they ruled that that's not whatever sufficient, whatever the words are.
Not that one. Yeah. Like saying that the devil made you do it. He still made you do the thing that was illegal. So what you were still doing was illegal, even in your delusion. Different ways of looking at it, but no, you can't just say that. It's kind of the same reason. Like I can't say, like if you are intoxication isn't a defense to things. So like, well, how would I know I was intoxicated? I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, doesn't matter because you voluntarily.
You still did it.
Yeah.
Did it?
So I don't know. It's just not a defense unless somebody drugged you. But I guess you're saying if the devil drugged me. But if that's a mental, but if that's a, I mean, how do you prove that? If like you say that, but you don't have any other like psychosis or something like that. If you were in a complete state of psychosis and delusion at the time that it happened and you're incompetent to stand trial, then that for sure is an excuse.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask you. Like, what if I had a decaying tooth and my brain went crazy?
Yeah. I mean, then sometimes that's a defense for sure. I had a lady who had a thyroid episode because she'd recently been prescribed some medication, like different from what she was taking. And like I talked to her doctors and everything about it. Something called a thyroid storm where you like suffer psychosis from something that happens with your thyroid. She went on like a multi-county car chase, evading arrest, like felony evading arrest. But she was just having she's having a medical episode. So
damn.
Yeah. So we got that dismissed, but
That's crazy.
yeah.
There's a lot of things to law, man.
So many things.
I wonder why you guys make so much money.
I mean, we have to know there's so many things. We do something called issue spotting. So even if I don't know exactly what everything is, I should be able to recognize like that's something I need to research. Like that's going to be a thing, even little areas of it. So that's one of the biggest things is like, I should know enough to ask questions about that.
Yeah.
Can the government force me to take a vaccine?
That's something versus Johnson back in the day. Can you do a forced vaccination? I don't believe so. No forced vaccination. There was also something about, I can't remember what that one was. Because they were wanting to do it back in the day. And then they were like, well, if you don't take the vaccine, then you have to pay a fine. And like that was unconstitutional as well. They were talking about it kind of like search and seizure cases under that part of the amendment, like because it's it's a seizure of your body or it's like an invasion of your person. Like, can they do that? But yeah, so no, they cannot force you to take one. You can have religious, like that's where there are religious exceptions and things like that for schools.
I gotcha.
At least, don't quote me on that, but this does not constitute legal advice. It's not binding. This does not form an attorney-client relationship with anybody listening. I think I have to do my disclaimer. But yeah, from what I remember, this is crazy because I got not minored, but I got certificates in public health law. So I did a lot of health law stuff. I just know that.
So you have to have a warrant to take my blood?
Yeah. You have to. That was a big thing here. In Lubbock, there for a while, you have to have a sworn affidavit to be able to go draw somebody's blood. And somebody let the body cam run one day. And one of the attorneys, I can't remember who it was, maybe Chris Espino or somebody, realized that nobody ever made the officer swear an oath. And he was just like, no, just do it. It's fine. Like never administered the oath. And so they were taking blood draws, just like signing it. Nobody ever administered the oath to somebody. They just would sign it.
That's how my boy got off a DWI.
Yeah. And so, but what happened is like one of the guys gets on the stand, I think it was in front of Judge Hawker in County Court 1 and was like, well, I mean, but it's just a procedure. Like everybody does it, but it doesn't really mean anything. Like, so we just don't do it. Like we understand that it's there, but you don't actually have to say it because it doesn't matter. And he's like, well, we made you take an oath before you got up here in this witness box. Are you telling me that oath doesn't matter? Like the judge chimed in like,
Oh my God.
Damn.
Are you kidding? Like we swear to tell the truth and you have to make sure your officers are swearing to tell the truth. I mean, and honestly,
That must be so embarrassing to just kind of like, yeah, you're right.
oh, we all got a copy. We all got a copy of the transcript and we're like, and they sent it around
Like,
to all of us.
damn,
Yeah.
put some aloe vera on that.
Owned by a judge.
Ooh. Are you saying the oath that I administered to you doesn't matter? Yeah. Judge Hawker's a savage. I like him.
Shout out to the judges. I don't ever want to see one ever again.
I actually think.
Well, I
there's
might
some-
if I get selected for a jury. But
I wonder what court you're going to be in. I think my trials are on the 14th. So you're going in earlier though, right?
oh, yeah, it's the 7th.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow's the online
None of
one.
mine.
I'm just going to make it look like I'm crazy. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding.
Those have made it on the jury before too.
God.
Somebody was like, "What
I'm
if I
gonna
wore?"
wear a Biden-
Somebody's like, "What if I wore a wizard robe?" I'm like, honestly, I'd put you on my jury because I get bored.
Oh, yeah.
But if you tell me that you hate my face and could not pay attention during trial because you just hate it, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get dismissed.
What if I say I hate women?
Yeah, immediately.
I had a friend whose mom said that she was low-key kind of prejudiced. She
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
yeah, like she was older and she was just kind of like, I just grew up a certain way and I don't mean it, but I think I'm a little prejudiced.
If people are honest about it, just be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if her mom, I don't know, but literally she came to work like, guess what my mom said.
Old people are.
So, and if you don't, and here's the trick, because if you don't want to perjure yourself, right? You don't want to get up there and you don't want to lie about how you really feel about things. You have to tell the truth in court. Okay, then tell the truth in court. But I stalk my juries. I get a jury list typically the week before, like on a Thursday or Friday, and then trial starts Monday. So what do I do all weekend? I go on Facebook or whatever social media I can find. Yeah, and I look up everybody, and I'm just like,
Once I start posting weird shit, this is why.
yeah. And I look in
She told me
Lubbock.
to. It's legal advice.
I look at Lubbock County mugshots and see if anybody's in the group, and if that's the first place I go and see if anybody like is closet like hating on people or is cool. So, and then I look, and a lot of times you can't like see everything in somebody's profile, but if it's on your profile picture, any of your former profile pictures, and you had something kind of questionable, I'm like, okay, I know what you're about. And I'm putting notes on my sheet. So you technically, this is such a lawyer loophole.
You don't even stand a chance to ever get selected.
So I don't know.
Well, if they pay good, then I might want to do it. But
I feel like they
You
just
said
don't
you're
pay that
biased.
much.
You said all these other shits.
You do get lunch. Most of the time people go to Giorgio's.
what did Stanley in The Office say? You watch The Office?
Oh, yeah.
He's like
Are you kidding?
getting paid to judge people in a free lunch.
In air conditioning.
In an air-conditioned room.
Getting paid to judge people. I love Stanley. I'm currently in a Dwight text off with my birthday was yesterday, and my cousin just texted, "It's your birthday." And so I sent back a Dwight meme, and we're like 30 Dwight memes in.
off.
Yeah,
Dwight rules.
It's a Dwight off. Which I realize the older I get that I'm Dwight, because Battlestar Galactica is one of my favorite shows and has been for a while. Is playing in the delivery room with my first son.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I like have the Highlander sword. I named my son Duncan. My other son's named Link after
Bears,
Zelda.
beats, Battlestar Galactica.
I know a lot of bear facts. No, I live on a farm though now, and I have a purple belt in jujitsu, not actual karate, but
No, jiu-jitsu rules.
I consider myself a cross of Gabe, Creed, and Kelly.
how are you, Gabe?
Just like his there's like little random like one-liners he has, but there's one that sticks out to me where he talks about Giallo and Dario Argento, which is horror. So I was just like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, got it. And then Kelly for sure. I can kind of get, but then Creed because he's
Creed rules.
Oh, there's a sick little freak man inside of this thick body.
just hanging brain.
That's flashing.
Inside of this body is Brett Michaels or something. Just yeah.
What is it? A gay goth daughter son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I still love you.
Thanks.
I
I have to ask, what are your... You said you believed in the supernatural.
Oh, shit.
I had to bring it there.
Okay, so I'm just
You guys talk about it.
And you can tell me
restroom.
about an experience. You
ahead.
can tell me about just your beliefs in it.
I don't know how much I can say on air, but
Ooh.
no, I've had a lot of experiences. I also like really believe in spiritual warfare. I believe in like angels and demons, and like I mean, even if you go into like all the alien stuff and everything that you're looking at, I think that there is another thing going around us all the time, and that there's really dark stuff that happens. And I feel like when I'm in the courthouse too, like I can feel people's energy.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like frequencies and vibrations and everything, and you can tell you're like, that is not just you. That is a lot of other stuff with you.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Mexican, obviously, and not that like my family like dabbles in stuff like this, but I know, like, speaking on like spiritual warfare and stuff like that, I mean, I do totally believe that some people will go to all ends and will exercise all corners to see, you know, their family member get off, you know, if things.
Oh yeah. My ex-husband is Brazilian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Like
some hardcore shit.
super South American, like Santeria, sacrificing your chickens,
exactly what I'm thinking of.
praying to your and hand to God, I think that he and some of the people who used to be in my house brought a lot of stuff there.
Oh yeah.
Like bad stuff. And I've tried, like I've done like anointing my doors and windows and stuff, but like it gets loud there. It gets loud.
yeah.
I've tried really hard, but
I think some stuff like that is just, it stains. You know what I mean? Really bad.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to move out of my house because of it. Because I'm just like, I can't.
Do you hear things or what is it? If you can speak on it.
So a lot of things, I feel like at night my sleep gets disrupted. I swear I've seen things like standing over me or like things in a corner, and I've had to just like talk to it like absolutely not. No. And like in the name of Jesus, I rebuke that, all of that stuff. Salt around my windowsills and perimeter and everything. Like I'll play like healing frequencies and light incense and just everything. I really will. But yeah, it's mostly, and then like the things that it does to like me or my kids or something every now and then, like, it's like, this isn't us, or like, this isn't, just like people who would visit. I'm like, that's not them. Like, what is this? It was almost like something new was there.
Oh, wow.
Like inhabiting them or like influencing behavior, like influencing moods. Okay. It's kind of like,
what do they call that? Like as far as like if there's like demonic energy or even just like spiritual energy, what do they call it? Like oppression or something like that?
yeah. Isn't that what it
like
is?
Like spiritual oppression.
So I kind of think of it as like the Dementors in Harry Potter,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden everybody's feeling like despair and hopeless and like you can't put your finger on it, but it's just everyone is feeling it, which would be like oppression.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You got scared?
Scared and cold.
It is pretty cold.
No, I was cold.
no, but and then I think like if you do any sort of like psychedelics or like,
oh yeah,
you know, psilocybin mushrooms, anything like that, anything that tears down the veil of like what that stuff is. Yeah, I think it can get really scary. I think you can really like see people for who they are.
I've had an experience like when I was very, very young. I was one of those teens that would smoke like legal, you know, and I have a specific memory of smoking this with a group of friends. It was me and two friends. And we smoke. We drive to McDonald's, of course. And when we're driving back, we're driving through residentials. And I was the one driving. I'm high. And I feel like I can see something out of the corner of my eye running next to the car. But I'm like, I'm high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then my friend goes, she's in the passenger seat. She goes, dude, you need to speed up. That thing's right next to us. You know what I mean? And that was as close as I've ever come to anything like that. But that will forever stick with me because I was so in my head of, you're high. You're high. Like, don't turn your head. You're driving. And for my friend to literally be like, you need to hurry up. That thing's right next to us.
Yeah. I think if you're aware of it, there are things attached to people. There are things attached to places. I think there are things attached to specific drugs. I feel like a meth demon looks a lot different than like a heroin demon or a coke demon. Like you can tell, like, and like the voice, especially because I work with mental health stuff. I don't feel like it's always just mental health. I think we really do. Because even historically, before we had all the medical science and stuff like that, we always used to talk about demon possession and things like that. And really, maybe we just have a medical way of recognizing what they are now. But like, your people struggling with different things, I feel like manifest kind of similar spirit.
Or it's like certain mental illnesses, they see the same thing. They hear the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You can go into like sleep paralysis and people, they all see the Hat Man. You know what I mean?
I have sleep paralysis. It's scary as heck.
Yeah.
And my son sees the same thing when he has his sleep paralysis, the same thing. And I had it a lot with my ex. A lot.
Really?
I haven't had it since he was gone.
And like those kind of things will attach themselves to negative energies. You know what I mean?
Oh, these cameras are about to die. God damn it.
Oh, goodness.
Ooh, spooky.
No, I already knew that was going to happen.
There's I don't know if it's like a mockumentary or what it is, but it's called The Nightmare. Came out maybe like 10 years ago or so, but it follows, I think, like 6 or 8 different people from all over the world. and it kind of documents their experiences with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Some of these people have been having it since they were children. Some of it started, teenagers, young adults, but it all gradually started the same. It all gradually, snowballed into, becoming like true night terrors, but they all had the same experience of like TV static in the ear, seeing a hat man, and
just the heavy thing.
Oh, it's been a while since I've experienced that. Ooh.
All mine happened when I was very sleep deprived or had a disrupted sleep schedule with abusive men, like while I was still in like active relationships with them constantly. And then my children too, or at least my youngest, when he was still around, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's insane.
And I haven't heard of it. And it was usually not during the night, but usually during the day if I was ever taking a nap.
So in that documentary, there were some that they would try to sleep during the day, thinking it was night terrors, and it would
that's when
intensify.
It would. Oh yeah,
during the day.
Horrifying. It's horrifying. So yeah, I think the spiritual world is very much. You can be scared if you want to, but it's real. Like
I always wonder that, especially like in like your line of work, or like I'm a hairdresser, so I do like a lot of like doctors and nurses and overnight nurses, and not even like speaking like it's like on like spirituality, but like they will all say the same thing. Like full moons totally have an effect on people. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Super moon, all these things. That's when the most trauma will happen. That's when the most, insane cases will come through. But I also have, clients that are like lawyers, or social workers, and they'll say the same thing, like, believe it or not, but like astrology and the moon kind of has something to do with the way people act.
I have more recently really started paying more attention to that and not being so judgmental about it, because that's, the solstice and, what is it? The lunar, whatever that
Eclipse.
one is. Yeah. But like the way that buildings were oriented to align with the stars, the way that, like even calendars are built on that biblically, talking about stars and where they are in Bethlehem and everything. I really think that before you had science, you had to have a way to know how to do these things. And I think that absolutely that stuff comes into play with that. My boyfriend and I were actually just talking the other day. I want to say, when was it? Last Thursday last week. They were like, he's like, are you seeing car accidents everywhere? I'm like, yeah, I've had to reroute because I've seen so many car accidents today. And I don't know if it was windy or what, but it's like, there's something going on. Like just to us, we're like, there's something going on that's heavy and is like distracting people today that seemed out of the ordinary. And sometimes we'll just like get a vibe for such a piece. Yeah. It's like, I'm just getting a vibe. Like it just feels like today I felt like something was messing with me because I was really low energy. Kind of scatterbrain, like brain fog, couldn't really focus. And I stopped at a stop sign, and then I like very immediately, with no distractions, pulled out in front of a car for no reason and like almost got hit. And I'm like, what is trying to mess with me today? Like you feel like something is like there, just like
situational awareness, one more time of just kind of like reading the room of like, this is the same, but it's not at all, you know, or I've had days like that, or I've had interactions with people where it's just like, this isn't right.
You're like, I need to be vigilant. So don't be scared of it. You just have to be vigilant of it, because that's when it gets
real.
you.
I've experienced it.
Yeah. That's when you're right.
I've seen it.
Yeah. I've just kind of always wondered that with, like police officers and stuff, if you guys ever deal with anything spiritual like that. Because it's like I said, like I know people will deal certain cards to make sure things happen, in their favor or whatever. You know what I mean? So I always wondered like if that ever.
I'm constantly praying so that things are in my favor. But no, the spiritual stuff. Yeah. There are a lot of people who, you'll pay money for your spells, or you'll go to the right. I don't know that I see it as much here. Definitely I know in Brazil, because my ex is, one of his friends was a cop, and they have like federal police. And so I get these group message things of like, I'd like see them shooting their drug dealers, or it was a lot of
that's crazy
violent stuff.
And I'm pretty sure like just like deeper down south, like that's probably like a lot more like prevalent. You know what I mean? Like black
you can
magic
see
and
the actual altars and all of that. Yeah.
I remember years ago, like, don't even ask me what this was because it was my friend that showed it to me. But there was like a site where it was like the cartels, like, you know, like witch, you know what I mean? Essentially,
they have
like
different patron saints for all of
yeah,
them.
like, and even like besides like Santa Muerte, it's like they actually had like witches, you know, like doing their bidding for them and doing sacrificing.
The Brucious.
When you do evil, man, you let that evil in.
Yeah.
I mean, and if I definitely know.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we're all children of God here.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope because
Just
it makes
my
you think if
friends.
federations like that, if the cartel probably have like black magic working behind them. I'm sure there's tons of other governments and facilities that.
Well, look how powerful and spiritual the St. Peter's Basilica was.
Yeah,
There's an opposite to that, so they probably.
That's what people forget.
There's a
like
whole
the whole Baphomet underground people. I mean,
there was lots of astrology stuff at the Vatican Museum. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
lots of zodiac shit. Lots
Creepy
of pharaoh stuff. Lots of Egyptian type things.
Yeah, they learned it from somebody. From all those people they killed. Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Well, now I'm also fucking scared. But my camera is about to die, so I don't want to seem like a bitch, but I am about to end this podcast.
Roy will always end a podcast and I make it scary.
It's scary.
Okay.
I've experienced it. I mean, like the sleep paralysis, I've fucking, like not recently, but the last time it happened, I finally saw a face. That was fucked up. That was the most fucked up thing. And we've been to scary spots. There's been some shit in here.
yeah.
And I don't know what to make of it because I've seen like white orbs and red orbs. I never know what to fucking make of it.
Yeah.
And I've seen my friends turn into fucking weird things when they're all fucked up.
When the mask drops.
I've seen like their eyes get black. Ooh, I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, I've seen people like be like something otherworldly, like their faces just change, and you'll get glimpses of that sometimes too in criminals, especially I will say like when I'm dealing with like a really horrible pedophile, it's like all of a sudden I know I'm not talking to that person.
Yeah, like they are not masking.
No, and like you can see like almost a physical change in their face.
That's so scary because I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people like mask, you know what I mean, or imitate like what they think is normal, you know?
And then occasionally you see it, you're like, that's some dark.
And that's really scary that you can probably read that on somebody, you know what I mean?
So I believe spiritual warfare is really what's going on.
And I used to compartmentalize so much and be like, this is just my job. And I'm sure a lot of law enforcement people do that. Like, it's just my job. These are just people. That guy's just an asshole. This is just happening. And the more I've been like, my energy is being affected by everything that is attached to these people. Like now I know there are certain days with certain people that come into contact with. I'm like, I've got to armor up today because that person is coming with like a lot of shit that is not mine.
Yeah.
And those things don't like me.
Yeah.
and they know what my weaknesses are. And just like, make sure that you put it, because they're always just looking for an opening. Everything always is.
Yeah.
So
don't mess with those tarot cards, kids. Jesus. Doesn't open it. I'm telling you.
You think so?
I do. I believe a lot of that is.
Yeah.
Palm reading, all that shit.
Just inviting that stuff to come.
There was people out in Italy giving out bracelets, and I'm like, don't take that fucking bracelet, man.
I don't know. That's one thing that I'm not sure about that I've been like looking at, because I think astrology and the stars, and then like, but then they're talking about that. So what are you invoking? I don't know. Again, I'm like a big free speech advocate too, so I'm very curious. I'm like, well, what are you saying? And is that a good idea? But then I'm like, am I inviting stuff in? I don't know. Because when I got onto TikTok for the first time, trying to figure out before it shut down, I'm like, okay, what is all of this about? Like immediately all my algorithm was like tarot card readers. And like, I don't even do tarot.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
like
sometimes my For You page will be that. And it's like, if you're seeing this video on this day, and I'm like, I am seeing this video on this day, and I am a Capricorn.
And there aren't any hashtags. What's going on?
Yeah.
They know you guys. They know you better than you.
I don't know. TikTok has some doors in it too.
Yeah.
Eesh.
I always wonder that.
If somebody needs a lawyer, how can they contact you?
Don't call me. I'm too busy.
Well, that's good, though, right?
I'll get court appointed.
Make good choices.
LornaLaw.com, because again, I kept getting divorced, and so Lorna Law is how I officially rebranded. So
how many divorces do you have?
Do you want to know for real?
Yeah.
Okay, on air it's 3. I've had 3 ex-husbands now.
I've had an aunt like that.
It's all crazy. The same? I mean, different? Sorry.
2 domestic assaults, and then the last one had a mistress for like 3.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant 3 different dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 different dudes. So, yeah. Just I'm unlucky in love. I'm really successful in so many things I do in my life until it comes to choosing men. And then I'm
Is this new one
terrible.
good?
Yeah. He's really good.
Shout out to him.
Yeah. Shout out to Zach.
Yes. Shout out, Zach.
Jen, you got anything?
Follow us at Lords of Film with a Z. I think that's really all I have to promote.
Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/snakepitstudios, and do not pee outside. Apparently it's a very bad thing.
Cut
Please
that shit
don't.
out.
We'll see you guys later.